We are live, thank you.
Hey, thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is the April 5th regular meeting of the San Fernando City Council and the successor agency to the San Fernando Redevelopment Agency. Roll call, please.
Yes, Councilmember Rodriguez. She is currently absent. Councilmember Pacheco appears he is currently absent as well. Councilmember Montanez.
Here.
Vice Mayor Mendoza.
Present.
Mayor Ballin.
Present. We do have a quorum. City Clerk, would you recite the Pledge of Allegiance and let's all stand?
My pleasure. Please rise. And I will begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let's see where we're at here. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll motion to approve.
And I would like to move item 10 up to the first administrative report item, if everyone is okay with that. Is
Yes.
that okay? Thank you.
Sounds good.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes, Councilmember Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco. He is absent. Councilmember Montanez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mendoza,
Yes.
Mayor Ballin.
Yes, the motion passes.
And Madam Mayor, if I can just reflect for the record that Councilwoman Rodriguez has arrived at 6:01 p.m.
Okay, thank you very much, and we're happy to have her. We are now at presentations. Board member, LA Unified School Board Member President, is going to make a presentation at approximately 7:50. She's a little delayed, so we're going to keep that in mind, and when she arrives, we'll give her the opportunity to make a presentation. But at this time, we have a very special presentation. It's a presentation of Certificate of Recognition honoree. Is she here, Nick? I don't even know if Benita's on. Where
She's
is
on
she?
telephone.
Oh, telephone. Oh, she didn't want us to see her. Oh, come on, Benita. Okay.
Benita, can you hear us? We want to make sure you can hear us.
I can hear you.
Yeah. Hello, Benita.
Uh-oh.
Let's try to get a hold of her.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just realized they may not have her.
Hi, Miss Julia. This is Julia Fritz, City Clerk with the City of San Fernando. Are you? It looks like you're on Zoom right now via phone. Okay. Okay, you're gonna sign in right now under your email. Perfect. All right, we look forward to it. Thank you. All right, bye-bye. We'll be signing in momentarily. This was her phone number. I don't know who it is now. I will remove.
Okay. Let me know when she's ready.
Actually, if we can take this time right now, Mayor, I do want to ask Chief. We are having some phone system issues over at the police department. I guess it's an area. A few of this area cities are. So anyone that's watching, Chief, if you can make a quick announcement about calls into the PD.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Probably about a half an hour ago, we experienced some difficulties with our 911 system and incoming phone lines to the police station. As of right now, our 911 is down, but it has been rerouted to the city of Glendale, and we have one of our dispatchers has been assigned to respond to that location and set up shop over there to handle our 911 incoming calls. And then our regular lines hopefully will be up as well too soon, as well as our 911. But if anybody needs to get a hold of us on a regular line, just please call the 898-1279 and we'll be able to pick up that line as well. But our 911 is temporarily just relocated to Glendale. As like I indicated before, we're having some technical difficulties, and the phone company, it should be here shortly, and hopefully we'll have it resolved in the quick near future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there you are, retiree. I didn't even respond to your email that you were retiring because it just broke my heart. You're such a wonderful resource. And what am I going to do? What are we going to do? What's San Fernando going to do without you?
You can still call me and let's go have lunch.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, we'll do. We'll do. Well, look, we have this wonderful certificate for you, and we're going to give all the council members an opportunity to just praise you and let you know how wonderful you are, and you're just going to float away from this wonderful presentation. And Nick has worked with you as well, and Richard. So I'm inviting staff to participate in sharing your thoughts and your experiences with Benita. So the official certificate says, Benita Trujillo, District Director, San Fernando Valley, Los Angeles County, District 3. The mayor and members of the city council wish to honor you for over 22 years of support and advocacy to the city of San Fernando and its residents. We are proud to have had the honor of your presence as a champion for our community. The vast knowledge in your field and the exceptional contributions that you have displayed throughout your tenure has been truly appreciated. We wish you relaxation, and happiness in your retirement. Yeah, we will. I wish you the best. You work so hard, and when I put together the picnic for the foster children, God would not have been as great a success without your help and your contribution and your connections, your networking. You are really, really good. So I definitely will be in touch because, people, I want to know. But
yeah, and we were looking forward in continuing that yearly, but I don't know what happened. Time just flew by.
It really did, and I'd like to do it again. Once we're done with the COVID, I think the kids need that, and maybe we can partner and get it done again.
Yes.
Yeah, I know the kids that participated, they were just so excited, and the parents that were taking care of them, were the foster parents. They were very excited about that event. But we'll bring it back, and I'm just going to miss you because you're just a great source of information, and you step up every time the city needed something, whatever it was. You just stepped up, and you just knew who to go to bring those resources to us, pretty much at no cost to the city. So thank you.
Thank you. And I want you to know I mentored my colleague Jessica Oriana to do the same. And all along through the last 6 months when I knew I was retiring, I kept saying, the city of San Fernando, don't forget my baby, my city of San Fernando. And she goes, I got it. And, we hired someone new to take her place. And I'm like, Jessica, I want you to take over city of San Fernando, not the new girl, my heart in place, and how I want the city of San Fernando to continue to be represented by the county. So you have our office number, and I think I gave my personal email to all. Continue onward. Just because I retired doesn't mean I'm going to go hide in a cave and not be present. I plan to volunteer the community, whatever. I even told Lieutenant Rosenberg, with your National Night Out coming forth, I'll be happy to help volunteer with that event as well. So, I may be retired, but I'm not gone. Hopefully we'll connect again.
Oh, I know we will. I really appreciate you. I just want you to know I appreciate you. I didn't respond with your retirement email because I was hoping to have a one-on-one with you over lunch after this COVID thing.
Yes.
But, I knew we were going to honor you as well. So we are going to meet. We're going to have lunch, and we're going to do some really great events together here for the city. So with that, I'm sure Councilmember Montanez has plenty of wonderful things to say about you.
Oh, Benita, you're too young to retire. You don't.
No, don't let the facade right here fool you.
I mean, you were amazing. I think I've known you for the whole, 22 years that you served us with Supervisor Zev Yaroslavsky and obviously now Supervisor Sheila Kuehl and in the so many different roles that you played. And I don't think there was a Christmas holiday or a 4th of July or a Veterans Day or a community person that needed something from the county, or it's endless, all the things that you were part of making just, this whole Northeast Valley just a very special place. A lot of times that supervisorial district, we wondered, was Beverly Hills or Malibu going to be more important than San Fernando? And we always felt that because of you, Benita, we were just as important. And sometimes even we got even more attention. So thank you for bringing us so much attention, so many services. There literally is thousands of people out there, Benita, including myself, where you've helped us with so many things in the county. We're going to miss you, but knowing you, your family and everything, you're just going to have a wonderful retirement. We're going to stay friends. We're going to continue to have lunch, go visit you and your family. And thank you for everything that you've done. You have transformed the San Fernando Valley. If we look back at, what the Valley looked like 22 years ago and what it looks like now, especially with representation, you've made a huge, a historic difference, and we love you. And thank you, Benita, for everything. We're truly going to miss you, but you deserve it for everything that you've done in your 22 years. You did decades and decades worth of work because you were always on it. So
Oh my God.
Congratulations on your
Thank you.
retirement.
Thank you. That's wonderfully. I appreciate the kind words, but it takes collaboration. I couldn't do it myself. It takes collaboration, working with you guys and with other partners and other offices. We just made it work, and hopefully I made it seem like it was very seamless and very easy to do, but how that it's in the background. It's really not. It's a lot of work, but I can't take all the credit. It's a teamwork effort, as you well know, Cindy. But thank you for your kind words, and hopefully we'll connect and have lunch, like you said. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Councilmember Pacheco.
Thank you so much. Sincere and heartfelt thank you. Although we haven't met personally, I think, the energy and, all putting all those years together, for the community is really impactful. And so, words can never really do justice to what it's like working in the community, and advocating for those who need a voice, who often feel overlooked or marginalized. And, we owe you a debt of gratitude. So thank you so much. Best of luck. I'm so happy to hear that you are retiring, because that's important in life too, to kind of reflect on this beautiful world of ours and take some time for yourself. So congratulations and best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Yeah, I feel like I had obviously the least amount of time to work with you. But I am so happy with the moment that we did share after our unfortunate events about the vaccine with the state. My immediate call was to Nick and our mayor for our special meeting. But you were the next call to talk about the resources we needed and everything we needed to do. And just immediately much San Fernando means to you. And I know you took a personal effort to get our grocery workers vaccinated and really have been helping us close that gap. And so even though it was limited, I'm so incredibly grateful for having that opportunity with you and seeing a bit of all the great things that you've done for our city. So congratulations on your retirement. And thank you so much for all of the service that you've contributed to our region.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Hi, Benita. Congratulations on your retirement. I think I met you at the Homeless Connect in 2019. The last one that the city had over at Las Palmas. It was.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Yeah. So congratulations on 22 years of service. What an accomplishment, and all the things that you've done that I've heard you've done. And thank you for all the support you've given the city of San Fernando.
Thank you.
I'm going to go to the chief, because I know that you have, you know him well. and he's worked with you for many, many years. And so, Chief, give you an opportunity.
Yes, thank you. And congratulations on your retirement. So well deserved. And it's gonna be at just having lots of fun now and be able to spend some time just relaxing, which is great. But especially for us here at the police department, really truly thank you for all your help with our Homeless Connect Day. That was such a huge success, and hopefully we'll be able to continue it after this, we get over this COVID situation. And of course, and our national night out has been a tremendous help too. So, we know you don't live very far from the city. You're really close, and I hope we get to. I'm not saying where, but you're very close. But you're also close to our heart here at the PD, as well as everybody in this community. You've done so much for us. Truly appreciate all you've done, and especially during this difficult times during the pandemic. You and the county have just been really super there for the city, and really truly appreciate it. Thank you again, and enjoy your retirement, and have lots of fun and travel and relax.
Thank you. We're trying to hit the road.
And Nick, would you like to say something?
I'm not sure I can add anything other than I don't want to continue to hold you up from hitting the road. So, Benita, we worked together for the last few years, and you've always been very responsive, and I hope we've been in turn just as responsive when the supervisors need anything. So
yes, you have, Nick. Even while you were driving and on vacation, I was impressed.
Well, we'll get on the road and enjoy your trips that you have over the next few months.
Thank you. And thank you so much for keeping me in touch with what's going on with the city of San Fernando. I know the supervisor was really concerned in this whole pandemic, concerned about the businesses and such. And, I tried my best with everything, all the funding that was available for the city of San Fernando. You were my to-go person to connect with, to make sure all the businesses were going to get funded that were interested and willing to go out and do that registration and so forth. But thank you for keeping in touch. And yeah, so let me know if Jessica doesn't follow through. She's my neighbor, and we're still texting each other daily.
Oh, that's very good to know.
Yes.
Well, thank you. And I really want to do the foster children picnic again. So hopefully once the pandemic's over, they need it, we need it, and we'll work on it together.
Absolutely. Sounds like a plan, Sylvia. Thank you.
Okay. And thank you so much. I just was heartbroken when I read your email, but here we are. And I'm happy for you because I did the very same thing. So I shouldn't be jealous or, I wish you well. I wish you good health and just have a great retirement.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, now we have to move on to our next agenda item.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Benita. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so now we are at decorum and order. So Richard, will you please read the decorum and order?
Yes, this is the City Council Decorum and Order Admonition. The City Council, elected by the public, must be free to discuss issues confronting the city in an orderly environment. Public members attending City Council meetings shall observe the same rules of order and decorum applicable to the City of San Fernando City Council as specified in the San Fernando Procedural Manual. Any person making impertinent, derogatory, or slanderous remarks, or who becomes boisterous while addressing the City Council or while attending the City Council meeting may be removed from the room by the if the presiding officer so directs, the Sergeant of Arms, and such person may be barred from further audience before the City Council. That concludes the admonition, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Nick, City Clerk, do we have the Spanish? Did we hire someone to take care of that?
The translator is not here, and I'm not sure why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Diego, would you be able to assist?
Caught me off guard.
I'm sorry, it caught me off guard as well.
Okay.
It is on page.
We'll see if we need a translator. We may not, but we'll see. So are you going to read the public comments first?
Yes, I actually have 4 individuals that called in, and I'd like to just give a little instruction here.
Okay.
The public comments are limited to 3 minutes, and callers, please note, in order to speak live, you must close your YouTube stream of the city council meeting that you're watching. And it's due to an approximate 8-second delay. So it kind of makes a lot of staticky noise. Again, close the YouTube stream. I'm going to let callers in at this time. I'm admitting a caller by the name of CL. Hello, ma'am or sir. Okay, must be having, I'm going to move on to the next one. I have a Maria. I'm admitting Maria. Yes, Maria, do you have a public comment? What's the next one? I have a Okay, I believe she might have accidentally hung up, so I will go to the next call is Kristen Argot. Ms. Argot, are you providing a public comment? Hello, Ms. Argot. Okay. And last one, I have a phone number, last 4 digits is 9332. And I believe that's Ms. Trujillo. I will let that person in. Hello, can you hear us? Hello, do you have a public comment? Hi, do you have a public comment? Hello, yes, we are here. Do you have a public?
Yes, I am the interpreter. I was waiting to be admitted to the hearing to to read the decorum.
I admitted, I think I admitted you a couple of times. Okay. All right, thank you. I will leave you there. Last, I'm going to recall. Thank you very much. I am going to recall Kristen Argot and see if this works. Miss Argot, can you hear us or can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
great.
I can.
Great.
Okay.
Do you have a public comment?
Excuse me?
Do you have a public comment?
No, I just wanted to listen into what was happening and just figure, just try and get ideas, whatever you have out there.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. And
so the best way to listen in will be to join us on YouTube, because you won't be able to hear once we put you back into the waiting room. So you go to the City of San Fernando's YouTube channel, you'll be able to watch along live.
Okay, and what time are you going to be on?
We start at 6 o'clock, so we're in the public comment section of the meeting.
Okay, I'll go to YouTube then.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
okay, Mayor and City Council members, I do have 5 submitted written comments, and I will read the first one. I would like to respectfully ask the council to take a public position, a resolution, and send a letter to the bishop and archbishop asking them to save the school. The school has been a pillar of the city of San Fernando for over 90 years. If the school closes during this period recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, will the city be able to recover with the loss of these families leaving and not contributing to the economy of the city of San Fernando? There have been no efforts to save the school. As you are aware, the entire world has been affected by COVID-19 pandemic. There are many, many families over the 90 plus years who have gone through the school who would be happy to financially assist the school. Yet the school was not allowed to do any alternative fundraisers within the last year. We see in the news about the injustice occurring in low-income areas that affect people of color. The schools that the Archdiocese plan on closing are all in low-income areas. Many of those who make these decisions have never lived in our communities. I graduated from St. Ferdinand Elementary School in 1987. I was in the first kinder class. My husband and his 7 brothers and sisters also went to St. Ferdinand. The school should be a historical site. There is a growing group of parents, alumni, and community representatives who would like the school to stay open. No one from the Archdiocese made any effort to keep the school open because the pastor of the church wants the school to close. This happened several years ago with Santa Rosa de Lima in San Fernando. However, at that time, Mr. Ferry, the principal at Bishop Alemany, took over the school so it wouldn't close. Viable options were discussed to keep the school open. However, that hasn't happened with St. Ferdinand's, which has existed long before Santa Rosa. I know the council cannot solve all the problems, but I humbly ask that the council take a public position and ask the bishop and archbishop to keep the 92-year-old school open. Thank you very much for your time and consideration. Renee I. Gaudette, educationer. Okay, we have the next comment is from Elizabeth Gutierrez, and she writes, since 1929, St. Ferdinand Catholic School has been a pillar of the community of San Fernando, serving the community for over 90 continuous years. It is now in danger of closing. The closure of the school will cause the city of San Fernando to lose a historic heritage site. St. Ferdinand Catholic School is the first Catholic school not just in the city of San Fernando, but in the whole Northeast San Fernando Valley. The school's social history is at incalculable value to the city. If the school is closed, this will also leave St. Ferdinand Catholic Church in perilous financial situations. Current school families will need to register at their new parish schools, leaving St. Ferdinand Catholic Church without their weekly donations. This will leave the oldest Catholic church in all of San Fernando in danger. All this just before St. Ferdinand Catholic Church is set to celebrate its 120th anniversary, as it was founded in 1902. I would ask that the City Council consider a motion to reconsider the closure of St. Ferdinand Catholic School, as it would have an adverse effect on the city of San Fernando and its surrounding communities. Right. The next public statement we have. Madam Mayor and San Fernando Council members, my name is Gustavo Franco. I am a resident of San Fernando. My family and I have lived on 1340 Silas Street for the past 58 years. I am reaching out to you, asking for your help on behalf of my neighbors and myself. There are 2 establishments across the street from our homes that play extremely loud music. It's suicide boxing, loud music and yelling out loud exercise instructions, Monday through Friday, starting as early as 5:47 a.m. Taco Way Restaurant, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, loud music, often live bands, starting at 6 p.m. and will go on until midnight. This has been going on for several months now. I've personally made several calls on different dates and times to the San Fernando Police Department, complaining, reporting, and documenting the issue. Suicide boxing, there were 20 calls that I made to the police department. Tacos Way, 10 calls. Unfortunately, this situation persists. This situation has become unbearable, not only disturbing the peace of our neighborhood, but most importantly, now affecting my health. And Mr. Franco attached a signed petitions from a few of his neighbors, and I won't say any of their names, but there's approximately 20 20 signatures. Okay, next one. I am a parent, excuse me. I'm a parent that has one student at St. Ferdinand Catholic School located at 1012 Coronel Street, San Fernando, California, 91340 in our city of San Fernando. You may have heard by now that our beloved school is closing as early as the end of the school year in June 2021. The news has devastated many of us who have children here, alumni, parents, community members, and church members. This school has been a landmark in our community for 90 years, and we cannot turn our backs on it as parents and community members. I have one child attending school and two other children that have attended the school, one who is now working on her MBA. St. Ferdinand has educated great kids that are doing great things, and the school is a community school that has brought the laughter of our children and great events to the community. I am asking our city council to help us in efforts of not only bringing awareness to the community, but to help us in efforts to work with Bishop Archdiocese, Bishop Alejandro D. Akelin at 818-361-6009. And his email is bishop@sfpr.org. Reach out to him on behalf of our school to work on keeping our school open. Thank you. And this is from Gina Franco. And the final public comment submitted is from Liana Stefania of the San Fernando Library. Good evening, City Council. I am Liana Stefania, Librarian Manager at San Fernando Library. I would like to share with you some exciting news. We will be reopening for select in-person services beginning April 19th. In preparation for reopening, we are working diligently to ensure safety protocols are met and appropriate preventative measures are in place. Moreover, beginning April 5th up until August 8th, LA County Library's 2021 Spring and Summer Discovery Program, our annual celebration of reading, learning, and curiosity for people of all ages, will take place. The library will offer both an online and paper version of our reading game, which encourages participants to meet various reading and exploration goals. Participants who complete the game each month will have an opportunity to win prizes. We will also be hosting fun virtual programs, activities, and more for all ages. We look forward to reopening our doors to our residents and continuing to provide valuable services. Thank you very much for your time. And that concludes public statements for this evening.
Okay, Nick, would you mind commenting on the closure and what we can do as far as a city council, the closure of St. Ferdinand's?
Sure. Yes. So, we definitely empathize with all of the folks that, may go to school there or definitely rely on St. Ferdinand's for, their educational opportunities. And, the city council, there are a few things that the city council can, decide to do if you want to direct staff to support or write a letter in support of keeping that particular location open. We can certainly do that as a city and submit those comments, on the behalf of the residents that we serve. So that's something that we can definitely do. There are also steps that other council members on an individual capacity could take, with regards to assisting with fundraising or whatever that might be on the side, depending on your relationship with the church and that type of thing. From a city standpoint, from an organizational standpoint, we do have certain limitations, from a legal standpoint. So especially since we're a public entity, from especially from a financial standpoint. But that being said, we can definitely move forward with it with a letter if that's something that is the council would like staff to do. And even the city attorney could add additional flavor if there are other questions on what the council, what kind of separations there need to be, since we are talking about a public versus a private entity.
Yes, thank you, Nick. Yeah, absolutely. There is room for the council to sort of weigh in on this if it so chooses by way of a letter. This is obviously a decision by the Archdiocese that impacts the community, and the council is free, like any other interested entity in the community, to sort of voice its concern about the Archdiocese decision. But I think, as Nick said, anything beyond that in the realm of financial support becomes a little bit trickier in terms of issues like the Establishment Clause, which does, for the most part, restrict our ability as a public agency to provide preferential funding that we wouldn't otherwise provide to any other private or secular entity. So I think I would only caution in that regard, but I think there is certainly, this is obviously an issue of community concern and something that the council would be well within its right to weigh in on as a community stakeholder.
Well, I'm wondering, Nick, if we should add this to a future agenda item so the council can speak to it and we can have a discussion and give direction. It's not agendized, so I think we all would like to say a little something tied to the closure of St. Ferdinand's and give direction at that time. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we can definitely agendize it for April 19th to have a more in-depth discussion and a better, more comprehensive analysis from staff in the city attorney's office on what we can do and what our limitations are. And from what I understand, it sounds like the at a minimum there'll be the finishing out the school year. So it seems that from a timing perspective, through the end of the 19th should be adequate to be able to provide that feedback.
Thank you for that. The other, and I have to bring this up, as you know, Mr. Franco and the residents that live by Suicide Boxing and Tacos Way have been really challenged with the loud music. And how is the city going to address that? How are we going to handle it? Are you reaching out to the landlord? Are there penalties involved? And you can bring that back on the 19th as well, but we need some more information.
Sure. Yeah, we can include that maybe as part of our enforcement effort. And there have been enforcement activities at various properties in that area. I do want to just kind of make a general comment, and this is citywide. I mean, I think all of us, are dealing with, are trying to do our best with the hand that COVID has dealt us, right? And so we have a lot of small businesses that just are not allowed to operate inside. So they have to operate outside, which naturally removes what we would typically have under normal operatings. You don't have walls, you don't have the sound barriers that you would otherwise have, which obviously has an impact on surrounding residents. So, as we start to move it through these tiers, and we have, can start to move many of these activities inside, many of these issues should start to resolve themselves as, we'll be back to having sound barriers that are walls and roofs and that we would have, you have under normal. And I also think that, this is a good case study as to, although, operating outside is for a lot of these small businesses, is a very, is kind of attractive. We also have to weigh the impact of operating outside on residents, outdoor dining, that type of thing, just because, there are obviously sound impacts when you move operations outside. So, so I've talked to Mr. Castro and I completely empathize with the situation, and we are, we are working through that, but I'll definitely give a more detailed update on those two locations on our April 19th during the COVID-19 discussion.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Madam Mayor, I just have a question on actually on both items. On the first item on St. Ferdinand's, it seems like there's a little bit more of an urgency. So I don't know if the city manager could just reach out to the church to begin to set up a conversation or have them come and present to us at the next city council meeting. I think it did catch a lot of community members off guard, and it was very surprising for what is relatively, I think, a small amount of money. They're shutting down what has been historically a really critical educational institution for us in this community. And I do think that merits them coming and talking to the council and the community so that we could understand the full picture of what's going on, because it is a huge, huge loss to our community. That's a lower income community, as people have said. These schools provide the best educational outlets and experiences for families that otherwise wouldn't have this opportunity to send their kids to good school. And so it just, I just believe, given the institution that it is, it would be, if it's appropriate, maybe they could also present to us at the next council meeting so that we could ask questions of them directly.
Yeah, I don't think, unless the city attorney, I don't think it's an issue to
I think that can be just part of the city manager's general outreach between now and the next meeting.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that way that way they're talking to us directly and we're hearing from them. So that would be great. And then the other thing is that on Mr. Franco's requests, I mean, everybody knows that those two entities are very loud. And if you could just let us know if they've been cited in the past, if they received any citations, because there are ordinances that don't allow for music to be that loud. And so it would be really good to know and give a response to the community what the city has done to actually enforce violations that seem pretty evident.
Yeah, I will provide that update. I do know that there have been enforcement actions and citations, but I'll give more information on that on the 19th, definitely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know that there's been defiance tied to that. So let's see what we can do to have compliance. With that, I now close public statements. And the next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Does anyone wish to pull any item for discussion from the consent calendar? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Yes, Councilmember Rodriguez. You're on mute, Councilmember Rodriguez, but I believe you said yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Pacheco,
Yes, also, yes.
Councilmember Montanez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mendoza,
Yes.
and Mayor Ballin.
Yes. And the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is item 10. We did move that up. And it's from me. I'm recommending former Mayor Joe Fajardo to be appointed as my representative to the Planning and Preservation Commission. He's not able to join us tonight. He's with his daughter. So I'm hoping that you will give him good consideration. His qualifications are in your packet. And with that, I make a motion that we approve his appointment. Is there a second?
Second. Second.
Roll call. Roll call, please.
Okay, yes, Councilmember Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco,
Thank you, Clerk. I'm a yes, and if I could just ask Mayor Ballin just for a moment after the item is included to speak on the item as well. But my vote is yes. Thank you.
thank you. Councilmember Montanez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mendoza,
Yes.
Mayor Ballin.
Yes, and the item passes. And yes, Mr. Councilmember Pacheco?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm very much in favor of former Mayor Fajardo in this position. And I think, now with the last few members that were appointed and Mr. Fajardo, we definitely have a very, experienced and well-connected commission that I think we're all very much excited for, especially as we have these RENA numbers and so forth. So thank you for bringing this forward, Mayor. I think, if he was up for it, it would have been a great fit. So looking forward to getting that work done on the commission. Thank you.
And thank you very much.
And Mayor, if I may,
Madam Mayor.
just as by way of update, next Monday is the first planning commission meeting since we've had, so we'll have 3 new planning commissioners that are sworn in on Monday. There aren't any substantive items, but we will have a meeting to swear in the new planning commissioners and to do a reorganization. So we'll get everyone, will be official after Monday.
And we will have a certificate of appreciation for my Commissioner Alvin.
Yes.
Wonderful commissioner, wonderful neighbor.
And
So,
all of the outgoing commissioners receive certificates. So yeah.
very good. That's very good. Thank you. Someone wanted to ask a question, but I didn't catch who it was.
No, I was just going to say that I didn't realize Alvin was leaving, but thank you, Alvin, if he's paying attention for all his years of service.
Yes, he was my very first commissioner. So
Well, that's great.
I'm gonna miss Alvin.
Yeah.
But he's still a neighbor, so I can always go knock on his door. Okay, so now we are at, let's see here, a public
Madam
hearing.
Mayor?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I was going to mention the public hearings now.
Oh, okay, thank you. Item 7, let's see. Public hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance regarding floodplain management regulations and acceptance of the Federal Emergency Management Agency flood insurance study. I declare the public hearing is open, and staff will share information with us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I will have Public Works Director Matt Baumgartner will be giving a very short presentation and then answering questions that council may have afterwards.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm just going to give a very brief presentation on this item, a little bit of background on the FEMA flood insurance study. In 1968, Congress passed an act that created the National Flood Insurance Program and set it up so that it would be managed by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Currently, there's about 5 million citizens in the US that are covered under this program, and about $1.3 trillion in coverage is provided for communities that are flood prone. Approximately 23,000 communities, including San Fernando, participate in this program. They must have a floodplain management ordinance, which we do have on file. And we have to also accept FEMA's flood insurance study. That is a requirement of being a part of the program. This is essentially a detailed hydraulic analysis that's conducted by FEMA engineers and planners to support the program. What they're doing is calculating the base flood elevation, which is essentially the elevation of a 100-year flood. So this is a flood that has a 1% chance of occurring in any given year. And any areas that are within these zones are considered special flood hazard areas. There's maps of these areas shown on what are called flood insurance rate maps, which I'll show you an example of here in the next couple of slides. It's periodically updated by FEMA, the study, and it's typically as more and more development occurs, there's more and more impermeable surfaces that are created by, through concrete and asphalt and roofs that sends a lot more water rushing down through the topography. The city last adopted the flood insurance study done in FEMA in 2006, which is when we last adopted an ordinance. And I just wanted to give you just a real brief visual to look at this. This represents a 100-year floodplain, and the floodway here in the middle represents how the water of a 100-year flood is to be taken away during a heavy storm. And no construction is allowed within this floodway. The flood fringe represents an area where you are allowed to construct as long as you are a couple of feet, as long as the footings of buildings are a couple of feet above the base flood elevation, which again is the 100-year flood elevation. Down here, we have the different zones that represent the special flood hazard areas. And I'll just point out real quick that we are considered Zone X, which is an area that is not mandatory that we carry insurance and is outside of the 100-year flood zone. This is the firm panel that I was telling you about, and it's difficult to see, but this area here represents obviously the city of San Fernando, and it's Zone X. We are considered a 0.2% chance of a flood reaching that elevation, which is essentially a 500-year flood. So going back to this here, this represents a 100-year flood elevation. If I can exaggerate and move up, a 500-year flood of elevation would be somewhere off my computer screen. So we're clearly outside of any area of danger in terms of our foundations of our buildings being in a flood zone. So I was saying we're entirely within Zone X, which is defined an area of minimal risk. It's statistically a 500-year storm, and it's no change from previous studies. FEMA will be finalizing its flood insurance study for LA County and all of the incorporated areas, including San Fernando, on June 2021. They're asking that all communities that participate to accept their findings, modify their existing floodplain ordinance to reflect this update. And in our case, they've also asked us to add some language that requires the city to notify FEMA if there's any changes to our city boundaries. So anytime a city annexes a property and widens their boundaries, you're supposed to let FEMA know so they can reevaluate. Obviously, we haven't done that, but we didn't have any language in our ordinance. So when they reviewed our ordinance, they asked us to add that language in there as well. We held a public hearing with the Planning and Preservation Commission on March 8th, which they adopted resolution 2021-001, recommending to City Council adopt ordinance number 1701, which incorporates these changes recommended by FEMA. And if you have any questions, and I took the liberty of asking a question too, in case you were thinking of it, is why are we participating in this program if we are in a 500-year flood zone? And essentially what FEMA explained to us is if there were a fluke storm, a 500-year storm, anything that causes a flood, and there was a natural federal or state disaster declared, there would be significant delays and barriers to FEMA assistance if we chose not to participate. So essentially, there's no reason to not participate. There's nothing that's asked of us other than to just update our ordinance. So that was the main question that came to my mind, but please feel free to ask any questions on this item. I'll be glad to answer them.
Okay, if you take that question.
You got it.
Okay. And I'm very impressed. I think you're the very first director that asked the question in advance of the city council or department head. I'm very impressed with that. So I will start with Councilmember Pacheco. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Baumgartner. No comments or questions at this time. Thank you.
Councilmember Rodriguez, do you have any questions?
My question was asked and answered by Matt already. Thank you.
Wow, see, very good. Councilmember Martinez.
The only question is just what is the current estimate of like when a 100-year flood or is possible given like just the changes in climate change for our area?
Yeah, for our particular area, you're saying? Yeah, I don't have that data. I'm not sure what historical data. I'm sure they're using historical rainfall data from the previous 10 years as they're updating these studies. They're using probably a 10-year cycle on that. And I'm sure they're also relying on the LA County hydrologic maps and studies that they use. So that's all incorporated. So they're going to rely on a particular region's experts, hydrogeologic experts, climate experts when they include that. I didn't actually see the base information behind their study, but I'm sure they're using the LA County flood design information, flood control information.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I think just to put it in like plain English for like residents, right? That people that live, for example, along the LA River, they may be at risk for flooding, even though we're near the wash. What these estimates are saying is that we are not at risk for flooding, so therefore you're not required to obtain flood insurance.
That's exactly right.
And so it's really important because I think some people along the LA River floodplain were really taken aback by these requirements. So it's good to have this information available to residents. So thank you for presenting to us and making it clearer, like what it means to us as residents.
You bet. I mean, I think one of the things that's really unique about San Fernando, I mean, I obviously because of the size of our city, but it's very rare to have a city that has no zones at all, no special flood hazard areas. So it's just, you don't find it. Every floodplain ordinance and every time you have to accept these findings in other communities, you are dealing with certain parts of the community that touch a part of a flood. You know, even if the majority of the city doesn't, you always have some portion. So we were very fortunate. And for us to actually be in a considered 500-year flood zone, that is not one disaster that we particularly have to be concerned about. So I think that is important to know. Thank you for bringing up that point.
Well, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Matt, for the presentation, and the diagrams make it easy to understand, a little easier. Thank you. That's all I have. I don't have any questions.
Matt, when was the last time the city of San Fernando flooded?
I wish I knew.
Well, they built the dam like back in the 20s, right? So
Right.
we were ahead of the game. I think it
Yeah.
was like before Hoover Dam was built. I think this one might have been one of the tallest or kind of most engineered. So that saved us. But I don't know. We should ask the Tatavium. They would know.
Yeah,
when in their historical documents or archaeological documents, does the valley or San Fernando flood? It's a good question.
And I do know that they actually at the dam, they because of the 71 earthquake, I think they essentially don't take it above half of the potential elevation because of that. They act very conservatively there. So I think that's another measure that just ensures that there would be no overflow or concern in a seismic event. So.
Well, since we know that we're going to have that seismic event really soon.
Yes.
About 20 years ago, they said we'll have it within 30 years. So I'm figuring within 10 years, give or take a few years. It would be interesting to find out, about that dam. Do they fill it all the way? And as Councilmember Montanez said, it would be good to get the information, historical information from the Datavians. So that's something else for us to add to a future agenda item. Doesn't have to be April, but it's just good information for the community to have.
Absolutely.
Okay, and at this point, I will ask, is there any public testimony? Do we know, City Clerk, if there any public testimony?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, there are no public testimonies that have been submitted for this item.
Okay, at this point, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
Is there a second? Was there a second from Councilmember Rodriguez? Okay. Roll call, please.
Yes. Councilmember Rodriguez. Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes.
Councilmember Montanez.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mendoza.
Yes.
And Mayor Ballin.
Yes. And I pretty much feel the council deliberated. We've got our questions answered. Our department had asked a question. I think we've covered it all. So at this point, unless somebody has a burning question, any council member have a burning question? I don't see it. So I will close the public hearing. And I need a motion for that, correct?
Wait,
That's correct.
You just need a motion. Motion to
Pardon?
the item now.
Prove it. The public hearing is closed, I believe.
Okay, and now what do we need a motion for?
To either to approve the item.
Oh, that's what it is, to approve the item. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the
item?
motion
For first
to
time.
approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Yes. Councilmember Rodriguez.
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes.
Councilmember Montanez.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mendoza.
Yes.
Mayor Ballin.
Yes, the motion passes. And we are now on item 8, presentation and update regarding COVID-19 response efforts. Listen very closely, Vice Mayor. I shall be right back.
Nick, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I was given such a good presentation. Unfortunately, because we no longer have Community Development Director Tim Howe with us, you'll have to bear with me through this COVID update. But I will go through a number of slides and update the council on our response efforts over the last few weeks since our last council meeting. So I just want to confirm that everyone can see my slides and it's the full screen. Yes. Okay. So as of April 3rd, you can see our cases, cases and deaths continue to grow slightly on the LA County side. Our deaths have been and cases have leveled off somewhat, and you can see our vaccinations as of March 22nd are 4,853. Which represents about 26% of our 18 plus population. That 4,850 is an increase of just about 1,700 vaccinations since the prior reported data, which was on March 8th, which was just over about 3,100 vaccinations, or about a 53% increase in those 2 weeks through March 22nd. We should have updated, and I'll get into the vaccination detail a little later in the presentation, but just, at the outset, we should have updated data through April 5th. So through today, we should receive that vaccination data next week due to, there's a lag in data collection and reporting, but we are getting every 2 weeks, we are now getting updates on our vaccination percentage and the vaccination numbers. So as we get those updates, we will continue to provide those to council and the community. I'm going to quickly just go through, I won't even go through a lot of detail here. You can see the trend lines for the number of person tested, again, from a high back in mid-January. We've been on a steady decline, and quite frankly, just because fewer people are feeling sick, fewer people feel the need to be tested. So you can see there's been a sharp decline and sort of a leveling off in number of persons tested, the 7-day average provided by the LA, and this is throughout LA County. This is the percentage of persons tests that are positive. You can see this is a really dramatic drop off. Again, from January, we were a little over 20%, basically 1 in 5 persons that tested were positive, down to the most recent data as of last week. 1.4 persons tested. So basically just over 1 in 100 people that get tested are positive. So we dropped from 1 in 5 to 1 in 100 over that time period. So that's a really good development over the last 3 months. Again, these are countywide statistics. Hospitalizations, again, we were over 8,000 persons that were hospitalized due to COVID-19 in January. As of April 4th, we were down to about 590 persons that were hospitalized. So again, very good positive development. This trend line is going the right way. And then lastly, the number of deaths. Again, this is a 7-day average. You can see the 7-day average back in January was about 270 persons daily were passing away. We're down to just, there were 3, I believe, yesterday. So that trend line has also been trending in the right direction. We've been continually updating this chart, and you can see persons of color, especially the Hispanic and Latino population, has been disproportionately impacted with a mortality rate of 343 per 100,000 persons, as opposed to LA County in a whole, it's about 212 per 100,000. So, and again, people in poverty have a much higher mortality rate. So we continue to try to get that message out with regards to vaccination in multiple languages and from trusted sources, so that, and make it resources for testing and vaccinations as convenient as possible for persons of color and persons in areas of poverty, to make sure that we're helping, doing our best to protect those populations. On March 15th, LA County left the purple tier and entered the red tier. So we went from purple was a widespread COVID-19 cases to red tier, which is substantial COVID-19 cases. Then again on March 30th, which was last week, LA County moved even more toward beating this thing, and we're now out of the red tier and into the orange tier, which is a moderate a moderate number of cases of COVID-19. So counties must remain in a tier for at least 3 weeks before moving to a less restrictive tier. And we must meet that next criteria tier for 2 consecutive weeks before moving to what for LA County would be the yellow tier. Would be our next, where we would go next. So, and just so you can see here, these are the different tiers. Purple is widespread, red is substantial, orange, which again, where we are now is moderate, and yellow is minimal. To get there, we need to have less than 1 daily new case per 100,000, less than 2% positivity tests. As you can see earlier, we are currently at about 1.4%, so we're already meeting that metric, and less than 2.2% positive for health. So I think we are on a good, and this is countywide, we're on a good trajectory to hopefully by the end of April, maybe early May, meet those standards to move to the minimal tier. Again, you can see on March 30th, there were only, most of the state was in purple tier. There were only a few in red and only 2 in orange. And you can see then fast forward a week, and we are now in the orange tier, and there are now many more counties that are in that orange tier. So that is all very good news. I will go quickly. So when we moved to that orange tier last week on April 2nd, which was Friday of last week, the LA County revised the health orders for businesses in their reopening guidelines. Those were effective as of basically midnight today. So today was the first day that those new relaxed restrictions went into effect. Just kind of on a real high level, I'll go through some of these for the public's information. Basically, bars that do not provide meals are now allowed to provide outdoor service. Visits are limited to 90 minutes, so patrons can't stay longer than 90 minutes. Tables must be 8 feet apart. A limit of 6 people from up to 3 households. No live entertainment, and hours of operation, they cannot operate beyond 10 p.m. Breweries, wineries, and distilleries that do not serve meals are allowed outdoor service at 25% capacity or 100 people, whichever is fewer. And they have the same protocols as bars, except for indoor seating, which has a maximum of 6 people per table from the same household. Restaurants may increase capacity for indoor dining to 50%. It was at 25% under the prior tier. So again, as of today, 50% max capacity is in effect. Places of worship may hold indoor services, again at 50% max capacity. Fitness centers may now operate indoors at 25% capacity. Prior it had been 10% capacity, and indoor pools may now reopen. Family entertainment centers may open at 25% capacity, and museums, zoos, and aquariums may increase their indoor capacity to 50%. Lastly, movie theaters may increase their capacity from 25% to 50%. Seats must be reserved, groups must be 6 feet apart, and eating and drinking is allowed only in designated dining areas. Grocery and retail stores may now increase capacity to 75%, but the Department of Public Health, LA County Department of Public Health recommends remaining at 50% until April 15th to allow workers to get vaccinated. Sorry, there are two more regulations here. Hair salons, barber shops, and personal care services may also increase their capacity to 75%. For any services that require customers to remove their masks, facials, electrolysis, those types of services, then the staff of the establishment must wear N95 goggles or N95 masks and goggles. Youth and adult recreation sports can play all outdoor sports between two teams with the required modifications for events and competitions. Our staff is currently reviewing those new reopening protocols, and we will determine which activities we can start to reopen for the community over the next month or so. City Hall facility closures, I just wanted to announce that effective April 19th, City Hall is scheduled to reopen to the public with a much more normal schedule. So we would be open Monday through Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. For the time being, we'll remain closed on Fridays to allow staff to catch up throughout the week on any and it will be by appointment only until LA County enters the yellow tier. Swap meet permit renewal processing, which was something that we were open for modified days to allow those those business license permits to be renewed. That those were completed on March 31st. And as I mentioned, outdoor fitness classes scheduled to resume at Las Palmas Park, and other outdoor activities that are allowed in the orange tier will be reviewed, and we'll start reopening those services through our Recreation Community Services Department as we're able to staff those. San Fernando Road street closures, just wanted to provide an update on where we are now in phase 3. Phase 1, this started back in August and ran through November 25th. You may remember we were doing full street closures on Saturday and Sundays to allow the entire San Fernando Road between McClay and Brand to be used as outdoor space for all of the different vendors on the mall, retail, personal service, and restaurants to provide outdoor services in the street. Phase 2, and then you may remember in November 25th, we stopped that program because there was a statewide safer at home order that was reissued due to a significant surge in cases at that time. Phase 2 began January 25th when the statewide stay-at-home order was lifted, and many of those businesses could start reopening again. And we worked with the San Fernando Mall Association to modify those closures. So basically, we would close San Fernando Road on Friday evenings at about 5 p.m., reopen them on Saturday to vehicle traffic, and then close it again on Saturday evenings at 5 p.m., and reopen on Sunday morning. So this again began in February and ran through this past weekend. And then phase 3, again, effective today, now that there's increased capacity at many of the restaurant and retail establishments and personal care establishments, the city will be suspending weekly closures of the San Fernando Road, those Friday and Saturday night closures. But we will continue to close the mall, the San Fernando Road, one Saturday per month for the street fair, which is similar to sidewalk sales in the past that they were done on a monthly basis. But that one Saturday per month will allow, it's been the fourth Saturday of each month, and it's been pretty popular with the residents in the community that have, and there's been street vendors that have come out. So we'll continue to do that through June. At that point, we'll reevaluate that with the Mall Association Board and decide whether or not we recommend continuing that. So again, we will be suspending the weekly closure, but we will continue to close one Saturday per month for that street fair. Real quick, I won't spend much time on this. The residential food distribution program has been very successful. We're pretty much at the maximum allocation through CDBG. The sixth and final round distribution will be held on April 17th, I believe at Las Palmas Park. In the San Fernando PPE for small business, we did do distribution back in December. We are working to try to coordinate a second round distribution. We have had a number of businesses that are starting to reopen now, so we're working to get out the remainder of that PPE those to businesses that are interested. Really quick, I'm not going to go through this. This list. It's more of a, for staff, the community's information. But these are a number of programs that the city has council has approved as COVID-19 relief programs. And I did want to just pass this over to Diego just for a minute to mention, just to give a really brief update on the America Recovery Act, because that's some federal funding that's been approved. And as we get more information on exactly how much and what those funds have been spent on, we'll probably revisit some of these programs and maybe make them a little more robust. But Diego, if you can kind of just go over what you know so far and what we can expect over the next few years.
Sure. Thank you, City Manager Kimball. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. As follow-up to American Rescue Plan Act, staff attended a webinar on March 16th with the League of California Cities for an update. Currently, the city is estimated to receive $4.5 million in aid, and it will be distributed in 2 tranches, 12 months apart, and the funds need to be spent by December 31st, 2024. The funds are allowed to be used for assistance for households, small businesses, nonprofits, and specific industries such as tourism and hospitality affected by the pandemic. It allows for premium pay to essential workers or grants to their employers. Premium pay cannot exceed $13 per hour or $25,000 per worker. It allows for assistance with loss of revenue for the city. And it also allows for investments in water, sewer, broadband infrastructure. Funds cannot be used at this time or at any time for pensions or offset revenues resulted from a tax cut enacted since March 3rd. And we're still waiting for more information from the state when we receive these funds. And when we do, we will come back to council with a recommendation or for more guidance on how to use these funds. And that's all I have as an update, Nick.
Thank you, Diego. And I believe we have talked at the council level before of possibly using the reinstituting that CDBG ad hoc, which was council members Pacheco and Rodriguez. When we do get a little more information on exactly, how much we'll get, when we'll start getting it, to work on some recommended programs and uses. So we'll be looking probably in the next, maybe next council meeting at maybe reconstituting that ad hoc just to broaden that scope a little bit to assist staff. The next, so from a vaccine standpoint, I think the most exciting there's a number of exciting positive developments. One that I think is exciting for all of our residents is as of April 1st, which was last Thursday, all LA County residents aged 50 and older, regardless of occupation, immigration status, just if you're 50 and older, you're eligible. And that wasn't even an April Fool's joke. It's actually real. That happened on April 1st. And then even more exciting news on April 15th, which is right around the corner, it's the end of next week, that eligibility expands to all LA County residents age 16 and over will be eligible to receive the vaccine. So at that point, again, at the end of next week, anyone in LA County effectively that is interested in getting the vaccine will be able to make an appointment. It won't be limited by what occupation you're in or your immigration status. So look out for appointments and getting your vaccine over the next few weeks, as we'll all be eligible at that point. Vaccine appointments. So just an update. City Council again has really been working hard and continues to work hard with legislative leaders to increase local vaccine resources. I do want to encourage anyone in the public to sign up with the city for latest vaccine resource information. We push out often when new appointments become available and when local mobile sites become available. Oftentimes there's only a few days turnaround in when those appointments are available. So if you're signed up with us and you go to our website, www.sfc.org/coronavirus, you can get on that list and we'll notify you right away when there's a resource that's available. I also wanted to remind everyone that free transportation to local vaccine appointments is available. You can either schedule it on our website, sfc.org/MissonCityTransit, or you can call 818-366-4119, and that will schedule your pickup. And then there's a few numbers here. LAUSD staff testing and vaccination. There is a help desk. And the number for any, if you are an LAUSD staff member or even a student and you want more information about their testing and vaccination program, you can call 213-241-2700. And then U.S. veterans are also all eligible for vaccines currently, and can make an appointment through your local VA, and the number is 310-268-4900. And all this information is available on our website. I do want to highlight some of our local vaccination clinics that will be coming up in April. And these are just a few of them that we're aware of at the moment. Like I said, sometimes these pop up quick, and so if you want to get on our list, we'll be able to get that information out quickly as they do pop up. Again, at San Fernando Recreation Park, this is an ongoing vaccination site run by LAFD, open Tuesday through Saturday. You can schedule an appointment on carbonhealth.com. The website is here on this PowerPoint page. There are quite a few vaccination appointments available, and they come up, they're freed up almost daily at San Fernando Recreation Park. So I would encourage everyone to check that often. They do sometimes fill up quickly, but every few days they release more, and that site is very easy. That's where I got my vaccine when I became eligible, and it was a very easy process. So I would recommend anyone to use that can. We did have a mobile vaccination clinic today at Las Palmas Park that was staffed by the city, and we also had it in partnership with the Department of Public Health and Curative. And I'll have, at the end of this slide, I'll have Julian Venegas give a little update on how that mobile vaccination clinic went. We do have a big vaccination clinic coming up at San Fernando Swap Meet, Wednesday, April 14th and Wednesday, April 28th. LA Care, USC, in coordination with the city, will host vaccination clinics at San Fernando Swap Meet. These are the Johnson & Johnson vaccines, and there'll be about 1,000 appointments each day. So, they should be able to fully vaccinate about 2,000 people over those 2 days in April. So you can visit the bit.ly/LACBSP vaccine 1 to make an appointment, or call 213-438-5497. If you sign up for the April 14th appointment, you do need to be 50 or above. That will be the eligibility on that April 14th, but on the April 28th date, anyone over 16 can sign up for those on April 28th. Santa Rosa Catholic Church will be hosting mobile vaccination clinics on April 28th and April 29th. Those are tentative dates, and they'll be finalizing some of those details. So we're in touch with them, and we'll be providing any updates as soon as they are received. And then the San Fernando Community Health Center and the Northeast Valley Health Corporation, we've been in contact with both of those federally qualified health centers. They do receive a limited supply of vaccine. I do know that they are working with some Blue Shield in the county to increase their capacity to be able to administer those and increase their supply of vaccines. They both have call centers set up to check availability for anyone that feels most comfortable going to either one of those two qualified health centers. Again, this is all on our website, but if you'd like to call 818-963-5690 for the San Fernando Community Health Center, or 818-792-4949 at the Northeast Valley Health Corporation. And lastly, Kidney Quest Foundation will be working to host a mobile vaccination clinic for disabled persons. So again, we will provide updates as more details are shared with us and with Kidney Quest on those upcoming mobile vaccination sites. So there are quite a few opportunities for anyone that is interested to get the vaccine. There are definitely opportunities very locally in the city of San Fernando to be able to get that over the next, throughout April. And I do believe, in talking with the Department of Public Health and other, in Blue Shield, and that there will continue to be more local resources available for vaccines throughout April and May. Again, this is just, you can visit vaccinatelacounty.com to look at any of the large megapod county sites, if that's what you're interested in. Carbon Health is the LA Fire Department, which is San Fernando Rec Park, or you can call 833-540-0473 to get assistance with making an appointment. That's all that I have related to our COVID-19 update, and am here to field questions. Actually, before I send it back to you, Mayor, Julian, if you can give us an update on how Las Palmas Park went today, I think we're all very interested.
Sure. Yeah, the event was ran very smooth. We had the LA County Public Health staff arrive. They set up the shots. We had also staff assist with getting people in from the street onto the parking lot. We had approximately 178 reservations, but we had 106 vaccines were given out today. So we had some people not show up. Unfortunately, they could not give those shots to people waiting in line. We did have a lot of people requesting the shot the day of. We let them know where they could register, going on the city website so they could sign up for the next opportunity. The next second shot of this shot will be held on the 28th of this month. But the event was ran really smoothly.
Thank you, Julian. And I did want to also, I didn't want to leave out, I wanted to thank Pacoima Beautiful. We've been working closely with them, and I appreciate, Councilmember Rodriguez worked hard to put us all together in the same room, but they've really been doing a great job running the outreach for us. We've shared many of our lists, including our voter registration list, with Pacoima Beautiful, and they're continuing to work hard and get that message out to San Fernando residents, and reach out through their various channels to make sure we can leverage all of our efforts to get as many folks in and around San Fernando vaccinated, especially in April with so many events going on. We're really kind of putting through a hard push, and that's thanks to the leadership of this council, and all council members can really went to bat. And I think the reason that we have so many events that we have in April and so many resources is in no small part attributed to all of your efforts. You really kind of called in all your favors and worked with those, everyone that you are partners with, and I think it's really made a really big difference. So I appreciate all the assistance from council. So with that, we will hear for questions.
Okay, let's start with Councilmember Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a few questions. Julian, do we know how many of the 106 that were vaccinated were residents of the city of San Fernando?
I do not know. I didn't get that statistic, but the majority of the people, I could say the majority of the people were San Fernando residents. I can get that statistic to you later time.
Yeah, I think it goes for all of the events, right? We have a lot going on in April. So Nick, I think it would be great to know, how many people are getting vaccinated, and then specifically how many people within the city are getting vaccinated. Because all the numbers are going in the right direction, right? And like you said, I think that's attributed to everyone here on council and and everyone on staff trying to get people connected. But I think, and this is going to come up later when we talk about kind of goals and priorities, but like setting a clear target of us getting San Fernando residents vaccinated and then measuring that, I think within this COVID update that we get would be really helpful, for all the events, how many people we're reaching and what the efforts are, right? Like, I know that we've worked on a door knocker. I know Pacoima Beautiful is calling people constantly. And I think if we're able to I think that'd be great as the report out, right? How many people are we reaching? How? And then also I think there's been discussion about coordinating more between the agencies that are funded to do outreach in the area, and I'm really grateful to Book Women Beautiful for helping us in that way. But I also know there are other people getting funding from the county to help with kind of this vaccine equity piece. And until everyone can get together, I think us in San Fernando, since we do have such a specific interest and have invested a lot of time in this, we can help kind of be that entity pulling everyone together. And perhaps, Nick, instead of the list format, we can put together like a little community calendar and post it on our social media, right? To make it more clear when are these events happening and how people can get connected. Julian, you mentioned something really interesting, right? That people showed up today. And I went by the park today and I saw it was very organized. But it's so unfortunate, right? That we want people vaccinated. People showed up and they couldn't get the vaccine. I know in our staff report, and I believe it was reported out a while ago by Nick, that people who live within the city can show up to San Fernando Rec Park, show their ID, and in that moment get an appointment. So I think that's definitely something we should drive people to, if that's still accurate. Is it, Nick?
Yeah, so you can show up and get tested without an appointment. For vaccines, there's still the pre-registration requirement. Quite frankly, yeah, for the Las Palmas, like we were initially told that walk-ups would be accepted. For some reason, as the event drew closer, LA County, the public health basically changed that and said that walk-ups would not be accepted. Everyone had to have a registration. So they did change that just about a week beforehand, which we were, a bit disappointed with. But yeah, so I mean, I think that they wanted to keep the first one small but we're going to try to work with them on getting additional pop-ups where we can have that walk-up function is acceptable.
So if someone walks up to like Rec Park, they can't sign up there for like a later date for a vaccine?
They may be able to register on site for a later date. I would caution it, it might not be that day. So yeah, they could get an appointment. They could make an appointment there. Yes, they just
okay. Because I think that is another resource, right? If someone showed up at Las Palmas today, maybe they're willing to just like drive the 2 minutes to do it that day to sign up. And also, I know that we don't promote it too much because we don't want like a flood of people at the end of the day, but I know that the fact is that like Rec Park, sorry, Alba's in my background, if you can hear her. I know that at Rec Park, sometimes they have vaccines at the end of the day that obviously because of like the refrigeration, they can't do anything with that. And so if people go, they can get vaccinated. So, I mean, I think that's a good thing for us to spread. And at the very least, if someone can't do that, at least they're signing up for a vaccine at a later date.
Sure, and I do want to actually do something that's sort of new today, as of today, hot off the presses, is if you are having trouble getting an appointment and you really want one, call Las Palmas staff or Rec Park staff, because we do now have the capability of making appointments at Rec Park. We did get us about 100 spots a week that we can make reservations for. So if you are a San Fernando resident, again, we just got training today, so we're kind of working through making sure we don't screw that up. But if you do show up at the end of the day and you need to get an appointment, you can call Las Palmas, or you can call Recreation Park or Las Palmas or any of our park facilities, and we'll try to help you through that and get you.
Fantastic. And maybe we can post that up for people who do show up, like to know the number when they're there outside of like the pool and stuff. I did have just a couple of questions. One is for your street closure phase 3. I know that there was a group of business owners in the mall that had some concerns about street closure, and I know that this effort is really trying to strike a balance. Have they responded to this plan? Is there anything that we as council should be aware of?
I think it is definitely striking a balance. There are certain vendors that want it to not be closed ever, and they don't see that as a benefit to them. And then there are probably just as many vendors on the other side that want it closed every weekend, and they do see it as a benefit. So I think really this is as good of a balance as we can strike, as well as I have heard quite a bit of feedback from residents, and I'm sure council members have too, about that fourth Saturday. There have been 2 of them now, that they appreciated that it was sort of a placemaking effort, that people can kind of go and have some sort of, there were a few different like arts and crafts vendors that are out there. So, I think what we were trying to do is strike a little bit of a balance to say, just, give it one weekend a month or one Saturday a month, which is very similar to sidewalk sales, which have historically been on the mall. And we'll look at how that works through June and then reevaluate at that time. So, I think it's one of those deals that no one's not, you can't please everybody, right? Because you have probably 50% on each side of the issue. But if we can at least give both sides a little bit of what they want, I think that this is that balance that we tried to strike.
Got it. Well, thank you for working to strike that balance. A couple questions for you, Julian, was one, so recreation programs reopening. I was wondering if there was an update about the City Baseball League. I know that some people have brought it up and have some concerns. And I'm not sure if you have an update that you can provide that we can share with community members about the next steps for that.
Yes, the city-run baseball league, we're targeting to offer that program spring 2022. We need to introduce what we want to do is to promote the program well enough to gather interest to participate. That's our target date. We are going to have some clinics regarding youth baseball during the summer, and to get that momentum, then offer the program in 2002. We also need to secure additional funding for the program. The program is not funding, and we need approximately $25,000 to start the program, to buy the equipment, hire umpires. If we don't get enough volunteers, have staff to coach the teams. And then after the first year, we expect it to be self-sustaining.
Thank you for that update. I do think that people were anticipating that it would start, and I know I totally hear you about ensuring that we have enough people, but at the same time, I think if we delay it another year for people who have been waiting, we might be losing them to other locations and teams. So I hope, and I guess I could reach out on the side. I know that some people have reached out from the community about the concerns, so maybe there's something we could do to get more public input, so everyone's at least aware of like the timeline and the plan. My other question was around food distribution. You might not have it now, but I mean, it's excellent that so many people have taken advantage. I'm really interested in how many unique households were served. So if you can have that stat for our next COVID update, that would be great, especially because we're about to host the last one in a couple weeks. And the last thing I just want to tell my council colleagues, for the American Rescue Plan, I know that the first half of the funding is supposed to be available within 60 days of when it was enacted, and that means early May, which means we need to talk about it now. So I look forward to Diego, Nick, and Councilmember Pacheco us convening soon so that we can give an update to everyone and have a plan in place for when that happens. That concludes my questions. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Pacheco.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start on that last note from Councilmember Rodriguez. I think it will be very important to see what does qualify, what doesn't qualify. I know Mr. Ibanez mentioned some of those things, so we'll dig into that. And obviously, we want as much feedback from council and staff recommendations as possible. I'm glad that we took some strong steps. I think the plan was always that we could count on, Washington, D.C. for at least something, but San Fernando wasn't really willing to wait, right? We were really just going to be proactive about our business relief, about, our staff resources and all those things where we made those expenditures when we were unsure, of our budget situation, of our sales tax situation, of whether we would be solvent and so forth. So I think in hindsight, we probably could have done even more. You know, we always going to feel that way. But I'm very proud of the steps that we took as far as COVID response so far. And obviously there's more work to be done, especially as vaccines get rolled out. So if I could just ask staff or Mr. Kimball, we can begin. For someone that wants to make an appointment, let's say in an age demographic below 50, right? So that they will become eligible after April 15th, right? Do they have to wait until April 15th to call, what was it, Las Palmas or Rec Park as one of those, you know, people seeking, one of those 100 people seeking an appointment?
Yes, well, they'll have to wait till it's closer because at Rec Park and some of those other sites, they only take appointments, like the ongoing sites like Rec Park or the county. They're not taking appointments 3 weeks in advance. They're only taking appointments a few days in advance. But for like the LA Care site at the swap meet, you can call now and make an appointment. So the ones that are a specified date, so like the second shot at the one at the swap meet, those the ones at the Santa Rosa that are going to be after the April 15th date, you can make an appointment now for those dates if you're in that demographic, 16 and over. But specifically at Rec Park, they're not making appointments that far in the future, if that makes sense.
Okay, so closer to that week of basically.
For Rec Park, but if you do, if you want one, if you know you want a vaccine, call and you're, you know, only 22, call LA, you know, that number we gave now, call it today or tomorrow, make an appointment for the 28th of April. So that you can, you know.
That's for the Johnson & Johnson.
That's
right?
the Johnson & Johnson one, yeah. And as we get stuff, as we get more information on those other sites at like Santa Rosa, you know, as soon as you have that data for making an appointment or that we have the information, I would suggest, you know, calling and making an appointment as soon as possible.
Okay. And Mayor, could I yield some time to Ms. Rodriguez? I think she wanted to chime in.
Yes, go right ahead.
I was gonna, comment just about the LA Care one being available. But it does present an opportunity. Nick, can you clarify? So staff is only being trained to take calls to sign people up through Curative at Rec Park, but don't we have a number available for Pacoima Beautiful who can sign them up for any of the available vaccination clinics that are coming up?
Yeah, so this kind of goes back to your comment before, Councilmember, about coordination, coordination among all the different. So unfortunately, depending on who is hosting the vaccination site, they have different procedures for how to sign up and make an appointment. If it's at Rec Park, then we have the ability to help make those appointments. If it's through the County Department of Public Health or this LA Care, they also they don't allow they require that they make the appointments themselves because they're trained in the system. So so the best thing to do, even if you call the city of San Fernando and you indicate that you want to you want an appointment at LA Care, the swap meet, for example, we'll make sure that you get into that right funnel for making that appointment. So the best thing to do is contact us. We'll get you to the right place to make that. In Pacoima Beautiful, we'll do the same thing.
Thank you for clarifying.
Councilmember Pacheco, did you have any other questions?
Yeah, thank you. And then this goes to Parks and Rec, or Mr. Kimball as well, obviously. If you guys kind of mentioned in the presentation about how you're going to decide what sports or what parts of the park, et cetera, to open up, can you kind of give us a little bit of detail as to what you're leaning towards or what comes first in terms of, baseball diamonds and tot lots and all that stuff?
Sure, and I'll let Julian answer some of the questions. It all depends on really a lot of the calculus just depends on the requirements for cleaning, sanitation, social distancing, and whether or not those are practical. So, for example, like when it comes to renting or indoor facilities, right, that may be allowed for indoor rentals at a certain extent, except if it requires hourly cleaning and a very onerous and significant amount of restrictions on the city that it's just, quite frankly, it wouldn't be cost effective for us to rent out, we'll probably hold off on some of those programs. Whereas I think the
But
outdoor programs,
I do want to mention that we are getting help from the federal government for these types of things specifically, right? For staff hours, going towards COVID cleaning, et
yeah, I mean,
cetera.
there are, but we still don't have, I mean, we only have, 15, 20 staff members, like this, so we need to focus where their efforts are. So even if we ultimately get reimbursed for those efforts, if they're cleaning the indoor facilities every hour, they're not able to actually run, some of the outdoor programs. We've been hiring people, we've been recruiting and hiring people, for the last month, gearing up to get, to move forward on a bunch of these programs. So it's not necessarily, a cost thing as much as it is a resource, a resource intensity thing. And if they're cleaning every hour, they're not doing something else, which might be a more popular program.
So very frankly, then we're not prepared with the staff resources to open up fully. Is that the message?
Yeah, we're not to open up fully and provide the very significant amount of disinfecting and cleaning that we wouldn't normally, that's above and beyond what we normally.
Okay, could we have maybe like a more robust, I don't want to say report, but maybe just an update on what that kind of load will be? Because I think it's important for us as a council to know, like, what is it going to take to, clean things the way that they should be cleaned, or disinfect the areas so that we can reopen fully, right? I mean, I'm just trying to get a timeline of, what's going to happen and when we have enough resources to do everything.
Sure. Yeah, and all, Julie and I we talked a little over the last couple of weeks, and his staff has already been preparing. Quite frankly, it's just, we're just trying to, today on Fridays when the regulations came out, right?
Sure.
So we're really just
so for next time, for sure.
Yeah.
And then for like the outdoor sports, like the baseball diamonds, like, are we able to open up those baseball diamonds now, or how does that work?
Julian, are you aware of the, I know
that's
like San Fernando
socially distant sport, right?
Yeah.
Yes, right now we do have the San Fernando Little League, who plays out of Pioneer Park. They started their league with the social distancing, with all the requirements required. The burden on that particular league is that only 2 teams could play at one time. So the scheduling is a lot more onerous on the league. They're using multiple sites. They only use 2 parks, but actually they're going to be using all 3 of the parks, so they could have that separation of the players. And they also are provided their plan of how they're going to keep the social distancing for all their players, their parents, and so forth. They're not encouraging parents to show up, so that is hard for a parent wanting to come and see their child play. But yeah, that is that. We're also doing activities that are allowed right now under the county, like the outside exercise program with social distancing. That is, we're able to do that. So we are offering an exercise activity at Las Palmas for anybody who wants to come out there. But like Nick mentioned,
parents allowed for that one?
Yes, we are doing that right now. That is allowed. So we are providing an outside exercise activity. But as the activities are allowed, we got to see if we could maintain the safety of the participants with the cleaning and doing all that. So we are looking at how we could accomplish that.
And I think I also want to just mention, we do expect there to be a lot less enrollment, because for baseball, for example, the children have to wear masks at all times. So there's just a lot of people that don't want to play under those conditions. There are a lot of parents that may not feel comfortable sending their children into group settings. So we're expecting a lot of our programs, we'll reopen them, but we're not expecting them be reopened at full capacity, just because, you know, we respect a lot of the parents' decision to, you know, participate at a lower level, if at all, because of a lot of the restrictions with masking and, you know, and just not being comfortable being in those type of settings. So we're preparing for that.
Okay. Is there any update you could offer us on whether there's going to be summer camp, day camp?
Yes, we are preparing to do a limited number of day camp. We usually have about 130, 135 children participate during each summer, but we're going to limit it to 30 children tops to manage the social distancing and all the protocols required by LA County Department of Public Health.
Okay, great. I think that's pretty much all my questions. So thank you for your time, staff, and appreciate all the updates. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Councilmember Montanez.
Okay, a couple things. Okay, so the vaccines are much more accessible now. And lots of opportunities in San Fernando. I think the issue still is the sign up. So if we could, one, on our website, just make it really easy and clear, like the first thing, very easy to get vaccinated, first thing, right? So all the others, we have tons of stuff on COVID right now, but I think first thing, here's how you can get your vaccines and give people the opportunity, and then spell out like this is Pfizer, Moderna, or Johnson & Johnson, because people always ask that, whatever they may have preferences. So if we could just do that so it's easy, because I think a lot of the questions that keep coming back are just about that. Where can I go get the vaccine? What time? Which one is it? And how do I sign up? So that's one recommendation. The other one is with the providers that we're working with, if they can, for just the first hour, give us the opportunity to have San Fernando residents show up, right? So if they're going to open up the signups, can we restrict it for the first half hour or an hour where it's only limited to San Fernando residents, right? So that San Fernando residents get priority, because that still continues to be the issue. So that would be the other recommendation. So as we're talking to all these folks, let's ask, can we, before you guys send it out to a big group of individuals, let us send it out to our list. And then we send it out to our list for the first half hour to hour, right? That way we could sign up, and then it opens up to everyone else that they're sending it out to. That would be another recommendation, right? And then I think that, you know, publicizing, again, for people that don't have computers or not as literate with computers, this is where you can call the city of San Fernando. We will help you get a vaccine. And in Spanish and in English. Es muy fácil. Nos llaman a la ciudad y nosotros les vamos a ayudar a hacer su vacuna. Right? I think that's really important to get that message out, because I think all of us are getting phone calls from people and they're asking us, can you help me sign up? And so we gladly do that. But I think if people know they can call the city, then the city will be able to help them through the process. So those would be the only recommendations that I have, because I think now it's really just about getting everyone, you know, April 15th is a big day. Everyone 16 and over, get your vaccine. Right now, everyone 50 and over, get your vaccine. Lots of opportunities in San Fernando. So, and we're here to help you get the appointment so you can get your vaccine.
Great, thank
Okay.
you.
Do you have any other questions? Okay, I see. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. You know, I appreciate all the comments and questions from council. It's very enlightening, and you know, I hope those residents that are listening, you know, are able to capture all the information we've been providing. I do, you know, in terms of what Council Member Rodriguez said about having a calendar that lists the locations, something like that, I think that would be a great idea. Just make it something that's a visual where they can go in and just see when and where and what vaccines are available and the times, and then possibly take them to a link for that particular vaccine if possible. We haven't had any calls in terms of, you know, the alerts and phone calls maybe we can do those phone calls again, letting them know if you call this number, if you're a San Fernando resident and call this particular number, they can help you with that appointment. I think that's, I think at this point, we are getting the vaccine here, and what we need to do is reach out to the residents and make sure they get vaccinated. I don't know what, like, like Councilmember Montañez said, we'll send to our contacts and let them know. We do it every day. I know every day we probably all are doing this with an email, forwarding an email, whatever it might be. But I think I appreciate everyone's questions. And I also want to thank Nick and staff for everything you've been doing. Things are changing every day. It's just so fluid, and it's you're handling this. You and staff have been handling this COVID pandemic gracefully. You've done everything. You've done a lot of the things that we've asked you to, and every meeting we ask you to do something. And I just want you and the staff to know that it's really appreciated. So that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Okay, Nick, I have a couple of questions here. How about the outdoor pool? So you said indoor pools, yes, outdoor pools, no, but being outdoors really works. So I don't understand that. Do you?
No, I don't. I think pools in general are allowed to reopen. Again, as far as like the San Fernando, the regional pool, again, that's operated by the County of LA. So I think they'll have to make that decision as to whether or not they're going to reopen. In fact, I think outdoor pools have been allowed to reopen. It's the indoor pools is being added.
Oh, okay. All right. Got it. And the council meetings in the chambers, what are your thoughts?
Well, I wanted to, I was thinking we could probably look at maybe the second meeting in May. That will give all the council members the opportunity to potentially get there. I know we have some council members that are of a different generation than the rest of us and have not been eligible. So that will at least provide that opportunity. If that's something the council wants to do, we can work through facilitating that in-person meetings again. And then again, that would be for council. We still can't have public in the council chambers just because probably until we get into the yellow tier for occupancy purposes, but we can have the council, and we do have a town hall streams, which is we can stream our council meetings live via YouTube and the internet from the council chambers now as well. We have that capability.
Okay, and I'm not clear on this. You said appointments only at City Hall. Does that for services? What services? And is it Monday through Thursday? So I wasn't real clear what you meant by that.
No, that's just on Fridays because we're going to continue to be closed on Fridays. So Friday appointments only. Monday through Thursday we're open regular hours 7:30 to 5:30. So there's no appointments on those days. It's just the Friday that we will be closed until we get into the yellow tier.
Okay, and the most important question is, any idea when the senior dances are going to start up again? We've had some seniors that are dying to dance.
We'll have to include that in our next update with some of the other recreation programs.
If you get your vaccine, you could go to a dance.
You can dance away. You can dance the night away.
Yeah.
So, Julia, those vaccines that were not given out, what happened to those vaccines?
To my understanding, the county took them back, and they explained that they have other sites that may be needing them, and so they will like free them up for that other site that don't happen today, but maybe happen tomorrow. So they free them up for those particular sites, and that's the explanation they gave staff.
Okay, that's. Does anyone else have any other questions? Yes, Vice Mayor.
Maybe if you could look into that and see if they can keep them here in San Fernando rather than take them. I mean, if they leave them, in other areas, I mean, they're taking them someplace else to use on another day.
Yeah, we will continue those discussions. They didn't take them because we didn't ask them. It wasn't because we didn't ask them to keep them here and give them to those people that walked up. In fact, we're trying to put a little pressure on them to give those to walk-ups by having people walk up. but ultimately, they had their decision for today. But we did encourage those folks that missed on the reservation window to try to help us put pressure on them to give them out. So we'll continue to keep that pressure on. Yes, definitely.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that report and all those great questions from the council members. And now we are on item 9, discussion and presentation. Yes?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have Kelly Gomez prepared to make a presentation, if I may.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Kelly. How you doing?
I think she's still connecting her audio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here she is.
Okay, Kelly, you there? Oh, there you are. Okay, we're ready for you.
Thank you so much. Well, good evening, everyone. It is great to be with the city of San Fernando, and I hope that you and your loved ones are all safe and healthy at this time. As your proud representative on the LUSD Board of Education and the current board president, wanted to share some quick updates on our LUSD schools and to make my office available if you have any questions or if we can be helpful in any way. We are relieved and happy to finally be seeing signs of progress and hope when it comes to the pandemic after so many setbacks. We have seen the COVID rates decline dramatically in Los Angeles. All of our school staff have received access to the vaccine, and our schools are being prepped according to the highest safety standards. As of a few weeks ago, the district had just reached agreement with all of our labor partners about a hybrid model, which have been unanimously approved by the board. And hybrid learning is now just around the corner. We'll begin with our elementary schools and early education centers as soon as next week. And by the end of the month, that will also include all of our secondary schools. Families should have already heard directly from their schools about the hybrid model and can make the choice about whether to switch to hybrid learning or to stay with all virtual. And families, have to make the right choice and the right decision for them. They will also have the opportunity to opt into hybrid learning as the year progresses. So it's not like this is a one and done opportunity. I want to, of course, take a moment to assure everyone that our schools are doing everything possible to ensure that they are safe places of learning for our students, families, and staff. We've installed the MERV 13 air filters, the best air filters possible, installed plexiglass where needed, spaced out desks, purchased lots of personal protective equipment for students and staff, doubled our custodial staff, and made other changes to our facilities and operations to ensure everyone is as safe as possible. Because of the improving COVID conditions, we've already resumed our targeted in-person services, which includes tutoring, childcare, special education services, and athletic conditioning. We're also resuming athletic competitions within the parameters set by the state and the county. With so much of the normal routine upended for our students, I'm so glad that we're able to resume this one piece of normalcy for our kids. And then since school staff have become eligible for the vaccine starting on March 1st, the district has opened 8 vaccination sites for our employees, including at Panorama High School in the East Valley in my board district, and also at Kennedy High School. Today, we announced plans to open 25 community vaccination locations at our school sites throughout the district, with 3 sites opening this week in East LA, South LA, and Huntington Park. We are actively working towards opening up a site in the Northeast San Fernando Valley, so moving towards urgency so that we can start providing vaccines to our families and community members as well at our school sites. I'm obviously really excited that our students can safely return to our campuses this month, but I do know that there's a lot of information to digest, from the schedules to childcare. So if you or anyone you know has questions about this return, please send them to my office virtually, of course, over the phone. We're happy to help. With so much progress towards the reopening of school campuses, it's also critical that we're providing our students with the services they need to thrive once they do return to campus. And we have to be holistic and ensure that our plans and efforts reflect the realities of our students, families, educators, and school leaders. To that end, my office has been hosting listening sessions with our teachers, parents, students, and principals to ensure that their voices and experiences drive our efforts to support the many needs caused by this pandemic. And in part due to the ongoing advocacy of the district, as part of the new federal stimulus package recently signed by President Biden, there's nearly $123 billion in additional funding being dedicated to elementary and secondary schools. We're really grateful for this action from the federal government. This funding comes at such a critical time to ensure that we can safely reopen, but also address the long-term recovery and the trauma that has been very real for so many of our communities. While we've made tremendous progress, it's with the understanding that our communities that have been most impacted by the virus, especially here in the East San Fernando Valley, will continue to need support along the way as we recover from this crisis. So thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to share the news about the safe reopening of our schools this month and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I think we all need to ask you some questions.
So okay, great.
I'll start with Councilmember Montanez.
Well, first of all, Kelly, congratulations on becoming board president.
Thank
Yay,
you.
that is someone from the Northeast Valley. So really proud of you. And the youngest, right? Youngest person ever to be board president. So congratulations on that. I just have two questions, and I could talk to you about other things later, but one would be looking into joint use possibilities with our schools and the city. We are in need of more like soccer fields, for example. We are in need of more of these facilities. So we'd love to be able to have a conversation with your key deputy on this to just evaluate what possibilities exist for us to do joint use on outdoor recreational facilities, especially, right? But then also the auditoriums and some of the performing arts. So that would be, one thing. You don't have to answer that question right now, but I know that's something that you support very strongly and have been working with, just City of LA and other areas to look at joint use opportunities for schools and the community, right?
Absolutely.
So you could respond to that. The other one was actually talk about that first, and then I'll bring up the other issue.
Yes, I mean, I think, in the East Valley, we often say that schools are the heart of our community, and we want that to really mean something, both in terms of providing social services on campus, which a lot of our campuses are doing a really great job of, whether that's our wellness centers, mental health care. We have our Planned Parenthoods that are located on our campuses. So lots of great services. But I think, as you're pointing out, it is also about how can we leverage our facilities to serve the whole community's needs, both in terms of access to green space, but other facilities as well. So we do have a good model with the City of LA. We have the Community School Parks program, which has opened up some of our school campuses to be parks for the community in a few locations throughout the City of LA. And I think we'd definitely be interested in talking with the City of San Fernando about how we could replicate that model. It's definitely a priority for us.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so that's something maybe Nick, our city manager, and then Julian, our director of Rec and Parks, could follow up with your staff on that.
Yeah.
Okay, and this one's kind of like maybe an idea that's really out there, but community members right now in San Fernando are really frustrated and kind of concerned that St. Ferdinand's is shutting down. So you may or may not have heard, but St. Ferdinand's, effective the fall, is no longer going to be offering the school part. And they are short by a relatively small amount, about less than $500,000 is what I understand. I wonder if it's something that LAUSD would ever be interested in partnering with, like St. Ferdinand's, to maintain like really high academic opportunities for our kids. And it's something that I don't know if it's happened anywhere else, but I think we really have to think different now. Where there is an opportunity to like look at that, right? To have maybe talk to your general counsel or talk to Austin or talk about it, to see, is there any possibility for the school to continue to function with some partnership with LA Unified School District so that the school doesn't shut down. As you know, it's one of the best schools that we have in San Fernando, and it's been operating since 1929 as a church, and then later on as a school. And families don't want that to close. Kids don't want that school to close. So it's a school campus that's going to be empty come the fall if we don't come up with really right now what I think is a relatively inexpensive solution and not have to build a whole new school. And as you said, there's a lot of money that's coming down from the federal government and potentially some resources locally to look at that. So I want just put that idea into your head, and would love to be able to, again, have conversations with you, the city, St. Ferdinand's, LAUSD, to see if we could really come up with a creative idea to keep that school open for these families and these kids come the fall.
I hadn't heard the news, though. I know, many folks who've gone through St. Ferdinand's and, are very committed to that school community. So happy to chat. Obviously, there are some challenges with public funding there. But I will say, I know that the federal relief package also does include some funding for private and parochial schools. So there may be some relief dollars coming down the way, especially for private schools that serve high numbers of low-income students, which I think St. Ferdinand's would certainly qualify as.
Yeah. Okay. Just an idea. Okay. Thank you, Kelly. And again, thanks for, the service that you're providing us in the Northeast Valley and San Fernando, especially.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Pacheco.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Gomez, for the comments. We had the pleasure of speaking not too long ago about the COVID situation and how hard it's been, right, for both teachers and students and parents, right? So I guess maybe if you could just break it down for our viewers, what are like the big, fears, I guess, of going back to school, or the big issues besides obviously contracting the virus? I mean, were there big things that, are never going to be the same again, or like big sticking points? I mean, maybe you can kind of just speak to our residents on that. I'm sure it was very difficult, right?
Yes, it's definitely a multifaceted struggle. So I think on the one hand, it's important to point out that everyone's experience of COVID, I think, is can be deeply different depending on your life experience, race and class and geography. And we know that the Northeast San Fernando Valley has been disproportionately hit hard by COVID. And we have school communities where many students have lost loved ones or have had loved ones be hospitalized or become seriously ill because of COVID. And so I think what we're talking about when we think about school reopening and the long-term recovery is it's really about addressing a trauma that our students and families and educators have collectively experienced, and meeting the socio-emotional needs of our students at this time. Because we know if students don't feel safe socially and emotionally, they won't be able to engage in the academics. So it is really about providing mental health services, safe spaces for students on campus as they reintegrate back with peers when they haven't been on a school campus in over a year at this time. And then also go ahead.
Yeah. No, and maybe you could speak on how the classroom is going to be different. I know we spoke, they're not going to be in little plastic cubes or anything like that, but I'm sure it's going to be a lot different than.
Yeah, just on the socio-emotional services, we've been really thoughtful about providing advisory classes for secondary students and dedicated socio-emotional lessons for elementary students so that kids have an opportunity to check in about their well-being with a caring adult, with their educator. And that will be continued when the students come back on campus. When it comes to the physical setup of schools, yes, it's very complicated in order to maintain 6 feet of social distancing, dramatic changes in the layouts of schools. So if you visited, San Fernando Middle, you would see that the desks are spaced 6 feet apart where there's usually collaborative spaces. You're looking at, single tables or single desks with maybe X's marking the seats where you can't sit. Path of travel is marked with arrows. There's signage everywhere. The bathrooms are different. So I could go on and on about the ways in which the schools look physically different, but it is very complicated and it's a lot of work. And I want to give credit to our plant managers and custodial staff and principals who've been doing the hard work of physically changing their layouts over the last several months.
Totally. Thank you for that. And I know a lot of parents are probably concerned about lost time and falling behind, right? So what kind of like after hours, summer school stuff can parents kind of look forward to?
That's a great question. So first, through the pandemic, we've had one-on-one tutoring opportunities that have been available for students both virtually and in person, and those will continue. So we will have small group and one-on-one tutoring available when we shift into hybrid in the next few weeks. So that will remain. And then I think, as you said, it's really about learning acceleration. It's about meeting students where they are and doing whatever we can to accelerate their learning, recognizing that it has been impacted by the pandemic. So we will be providing a robust enriching summer school program that will have both virtual and in-person components. So families will have choice about whether they want to send their kids to a summer school in person or keep them virtual. And it won't just be, you know, remediation, the same thing they've been doing this year. We are also going to be providing enrichment opportunities, STEM and arts and music, those things that really make students love to come to school, as well as your basics, reading and math, to make sure that our students are on track with those foundational skills. And then the district is also considering adding time to next school year, so the 2021-22 calendar, and there should be an announcement on that fairly soon, just recognizing that students need additional time because of COVID and all of the impacts.
Okay, and final, you know, question, could you just use, you know, your experience and expertise just to make some comments about the graduating class and how they might have been different, you know, from a mental wellness, from their grades and things like that, like maybe just like pour out a little bit, so to speak, or you know, in memoriam of all the students that, you know, were seniors in that final year and had everything, you know, so different.
Yeah, it's been a really hard time for our seniors who have lost out on, you know, so many traditions and rites of passage that so many students look forward to when they get to their senior year of high school. And we know that in our secondary schools, we have seen increases in the rates of D's and F's. So the secondary students who are failing their courses, because it's harder to keep up. Students maybe feel unmotivated or have other work responsibilities because of the pandemic. So our schools are working really hard to re-engage those students, but we know we're going to have to continue those supports through summer and through the fall, and work with our community colleges and other partners to make sure that there are those supports present when our students move on to the next level. I will also say that we have seen a slightly lower amount of the class of 2020 enrolled in two-year colleges at a slightly lower rate than their previous classes. And so that's a really unfortunate side effect of the pandemic, that students are maybe entering the workforce rather than going to college. And so it's going to take all of us working collectively together to make sure those students have the opportunity to attend higher education in the future.
Totally. So, well, I don't necessarily agree that they shouldn't work versus college. You know, maybe it's some good for others, but yeah, no, totally the opportunity. Yeah, totally about the opportunity. So thank you for that. And thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Rodriguez.
Thank you. Thank you for being here with us today. I just have a couple of questions. My first was, you mentioned having a vaccine clinic at a school in the Northeast Valley, and I was wondering how you all are selecting what school that is and whether or not there's one being considered in our city and how we can be helpful.
So the superintendent's team, I think, was scoping out that initiative. They did make that announcement today. And what some of the things they were looking at is both sort of the site capacity. So how large is a site and what availability does it have to host a full-scale clinic? So things like, what are the entrances to the streets like? How can we maintain access for people in the community, as well as have the instructional program be safe on the campus as well? And then I think they were also looking at sort of where are our COVID testing locations at? Where are our vaccine locations for employees? Where are our grab and go meal centers? And so there's a lot of different operational components that they were looking at. The current list that I have seen does include 3 schools in Board District 6. It includes McClay Middle School, Panorama High School, and Monroe High School. I just learned of this list today, and it is my personal opinion that we need more sites in the East San Fernando Valley. So I plan to speak with the superintendent later this week and let him know that, and happy to advocate for a school in the city of San Fernando, because we know that the need is great. So if you all have suggestions of particular locations you think that would be good, please feel free to share those with us.
Great to hear. And thank you. Nick is doing all of our vaccine clinic coordination, so I'm sure he'll be in touch with your team. The other thing I wanted to mention, and just thank you for answering all the questions you've already received. It's great how much the district has stepped up to address the needs of students. I think in addition to obviously wanting everyone to recover from this, we really want our students to thrive. So I think things like Councilmember Montani is talking about joint use, like has been amazing, even in, it's a different school district and city, but like in Santa Monica, they have playground partnership, and it's really been amazing to have additional spaces and works with like the local recreation department. So we really hope that Julian and Nick coordinate with your office to figure out how to do that. But also kind of talking about that students not necessarily going straight to college. I think, like you said, we want to create the opportunity, and even with our younger generation, we really support a college going culture. And now that you're the president of the board, I know in my professional capacity with the city of Los Angeles, my team's responsible for launching the Children's Savings Account program, which is in partnership with the board and the county. And I think that we have this unique opportunity with your role and being here in the city of San Fernando, getting included in that because of our MOA with the county and the district, to promote that more and make it really big in San Fernando, and look at the data and make it a really great place-based strategy where we talk about financial well-being for families and kids and that college going culture. So I just hope you come by more often and we can do more collaborative things. I know our education commission is really happy with their staff and really active. So thank you to them as well.
Thank you so much, and well, also congratulations and welcome. I guess I haven't joined you since you've been welcomed to the city council, but really appreciate that suggestion. And I co-sponsored the resolution in support of the college savings account and in the district. So definitely would love to work together on that, as well as promoting a college going culture. First generation college student myself, like that is incredibly important to me. So thank you for raising that.
Hey, Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Congratulations, Kelly, on your position. And thank you for the presentation as well. I do have just two questions. How's the school system plan to address children who have lost a loved one with mental health? What support services will you be providing? How will you identify them, or what are you currently doing or plan to do?
So our school counselors and our mental health teams sort of get referrals either from schools. If they're school site counselors, they'll find out themselves based on the students that they're servicing, or they get referrals from teachers. Or if they're at the local district, they get referrals from the school sites, and will provide sort of both triage support to families who are in immediate crisis, but also long-term support, as well as referrals to outside providers if that's needed. So if you need sort of ongoing therapy, we have partners that we work with who can provide those supports. But in recognition of just the unique situation we're in, we are looking at ensuring every campus has a psychiatric social worker next year. So they don't just do the job of a social worker, but they're also trained in mental health. And so providing that at least one on every campus, I think would be a huge investment in ensuring that the mental health and well-being of our students is taken care of. And one thing I'm pushing for is ensuring that investment is equitable. And so we know that the trauma has not been spread equally. So how can we ensure that places that have been hit harder get equitable investment? So maybe it's not just one PSW at San Fernando Middle, maybe they need two based on the impacts that they've had in their community. So we're definitely thinking about those mental health investments using those federal dollars that we're receiving.
Great, thank you. And how about those that are experiencing homelessness? How do you address that?
Yes, so we have dedicated counselors who work with our homeless students, and these liaisons do amazing work, both connecting students to housing when it's available, but also providing basic needs. So whether that's access to toiletries or to books, if they're having issues with their devices or hotspots. So they're in charge of kind of serving as a one-on-one caseworker with each of our individual homeless students. The challenge is often the housing component, because we know that there just is not enough affordable housing in our community. But our counselors do a great job of both identifying our homeless students, ensuring they have their basic needs met, and also working with the academic team to ensure that they're not just attending school, but they can be successful in school as well.
Thank you. Thank you for answering all our questions.
Of course, thank you.
Kelly, right now there's a shortage of particular services, professional services, healthcare workers, mental health care workers, health services workers. If we're going to have one of these at every school, where they're coming from, because there's an incredible need. There's a high rate of suicide amongst our students, as you know, and even trying to get services for them is very challenging, because they'll start off with, and I'm just talking from a personal experience, they will start off with a therapist who's not going to stay with them. It's just a very temporary situation. And it's very difficult to build that relationship when you know you're going to be given someone else to speak to at a later time, and that the kids don't usually follow through with that. They don't want to have anything to do with it. So it just concerns me.
Yeah.
There is this tremendous need, and I don't know if we have the professionals available. Maybe, you know, I'm hoping you're going to explain to me how these people are going to suddenly be available at every school. I'm not understanding that, because if it's not even available at the medical facilities, how are we going to make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly true that there is a shortage of skilled mental health workers, and you know, these aren't just clinicians; these are folks who are specifically trained to work with youth, because obviously that's who we serve in LAUSD. So it might be the case we've seen historic gaps in those staffing. So it might be the case that it's an investment over a couple of years, so that we don't get to the full staffing in the first year. Maybe we're prioritizing, again, the communities of highest need that have faced the most significant impacts. I think we're also looking at partnership opportunities. I mentioned that, I think, in response to the Vice Mayor's question, but we do have longstanding partners who we know do this work really well, whether it's like Hathaway Sycamores or the Child Family Guidance Center. You know, there's a number of different partners that we work with. So if we can't get, I think the preference is to have the staff person on campus because they know the school, the students know them, they have that built-in relationship, as you talked about. If that's not possible, then I think we're certainly open to looking at partnership opportunities, expanding or creating new ones, whatever it takes, really, I think, to ensure access to a trained and caring adult for our students who are in need.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to put a lot of thought into it, because I just don't think we have enough people that have that background. And it would be wonderful if they did, but I just think you need to put a little bit more thought into it, because there's just such a great need for every age group. Every age group has been traumatized by the pandemic. And unless you're really strong, you're going to come out of this okay. But there's a lot of us that it's been very traumatizing. So especially, particularly to see our children so isolated, and it just bothers me that they spend so much time on what we didn't want them to do, right? On tablets. We want them to be outside and have fun and run and play with their friends. And this last year, it's just been a very unfortunate for everyone. But I'm thinking most about our young kids. And my other concern, Kelly, is what's going to happen with the student that was a really great student, but just wasn't able to learn from virtual learning. Their attention span just wasn't there. So they went from the A student to probably my nephew, D to F student. Where do those students end up? Do they end up in not the advanced class? They go back to school and they're kicked out of the advanced class and say, okay, you're now a D student, so you're going to be in this other class, which will really damage their self-esteem, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think so, but it's a good question, because we know that a lot of our students who were previously really successful may not have been in the online setting. I know I've talked to students who've described for me, like, trying to learn calculus on the computer is very, very challenging. I mean, I learned it in a classroom and I also found it challenging that way. But so I think we are all really understanding and empathetic of the situation that our students are in. That's why the district, has changed some of its grading policies to make sure that we're really focused on content mastery and not penalizing students for being late and turning in assignments, for maybe being absent more frequently than they would have been if the school was in person. So we've tried to shift to a more equitable grading practices, because again, we know that the pandemic has impacted low-income students and students of color far more severely than their peers. But I think when it comes to, that's why I think in response to Councilmember Pacheco, that's why we're providing the robust summer school option. And I hope we'll probably have more details to share on that in a couple weeks, but I hope we'll be able to provide summer school for all students who need it, rather than just a really small targeted group like we usually do, because then that will provide students like your nephew the opportunity to catch up and to really accelerate where they are, recognizing that learning virtually is really challenging. And then I think when it comes to access to advanced coursework, we're all just going to have to look at those criteria differently, and make sure that we're not penalizing students for an experience that they had no control over. So I think it's going to need to be an ongoing effort and ongoing conversation, but the priority for the district is, I think, equity and empathy for students who have gone through something really challenging, and then working collectively to accelerate them so they can graduate and go on to college or career.
Well, I thank you very much for joining us today. You've shared a lot of very important information, and I'm certainly going to encourage anyone that I know to look at this segment. The COVID segment and this segment is just really critical, and it gives the community a lot of really great information. So thanks for joining us today, Kelly, and we expect you to come back in about 3 months.
Okay, I have my orders. I will be back in July then, and we'll certainly circle back on the mental health piece, Mayor, because there are more details to the plan. I'm sure that our mental health leads, their student health and human services at the district, could provide more details for you all, and we will follow up with Nick on the joint use idea. Megan, my chief of staff, will reach out to you, Nick.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
you
so
all.
much. Okay. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kelly. Great to see you.
Now we're on agenda item 9, discussion and presentation of recommended city council strategic goals for the fiscal year 2020, 2021, 2022 through fiscal year 2026, 2027. And I'm going to start off with the vice mayor. And I believe after the vice mayor, Nick will say a few things, and then we'll go on to Councilmember Montanez. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. The Visionary and Resilience Ad Hoc Committee is comprised of the Council Member Montanez, City Manager Nick Kimball, former City Planner Timothy Howe, Public Works Director Matt Baumgartner, and Finance Director Diego Ibanez. At our first Ad Hoc Committee meeting, we discussed the scope and goals of the Ad Hoc Committee. During the meeting, it became evident that many of the objectives of the Ad Hoc aligned with the 5-year citywide strategic goals that are typically developed through the annual budget process. Consequently, staff developed a recommendation to refer the City Council priorities and citywide strategic goals to the Visionary and Resilience Ad Hoc for more in-depth review and discussion. Council approved it. So the ad hoc focused on developing the recommended citywide strategic goals. To avoid inconsistencies between citywide strategic goals and city council priorities, the Visioning and Resiliency Ad Hoc recommends combining these efforts by developing more detailed and comprehensive citywide strategic goals. The recommended citywide strategic goals provide a clear vision to assist staff with focusing work plans and a roadmap for budget development over the next five years to assist with allocating budget resources toward achieving these goals. The committee met an additional 3 times to develop the citywide strategic goals to replace the city council priorities and guide annual budget towards budget development for the next 5 years. I don't know if I missed anything, Nick, that you might want to add.
No, I mean, no, I think you did it. You summed up the background perfectly. And then Councilmember Montanez, I don't know if you wanted to do maybe a high level of how we got to this point and all the different items in there. And I guess the question for council will be, do you want us to walk through and maybe, you know, if that's the direction, and Councilmember Montanez, you know, if we can walk through each of the items in each of the categories. Or if you just want to, if there are specific items that, the council would like to talk about instead of going through, line by line, I think that feedback would be helpful. And then, Councilman Montanez can kind of, if you want to help lead us through that effort, depending the level of detail council wants to go through, that would be helpful.
I think that I would like just a summary. Council Montanez could certainly give us some of the very high level points in the report. Would you go ahead, Councilmember Montanez?
Yeah, and then if anybody has wants to go deeper, then we could go deeper. So if you can go to, what is it, a page 178.
And I'll share it on the screen. Right
Okay,
now.
perfect. Okay. And Nick will share it on the screen. So I'll wait for it to come up. So, as the vice mayor said, we went through a really great process of really trying to take what we have heard from basically all the council members and our directors. So we started off essentially with what we are in San Fernando, right? So historic. So we're home, as we all know, to the Fernandeño Tataviam indigenous people. We were incorporated in 1911, and the city of San Fernando is without a doubt one of California's, beautiful, charming, historic small towns. So as the vice mayor said, these strategic goals are going to be the goals and objectives that the city is going to work to achieve over the next 5 years. Okay, and we want everyone. So we want the city council, the city manager, the department directors, the city commissions, and all city employees to work together to achieve these strategic goals. Okay, so this is our plan as a city. So let's go to the next page. So we organized ourselves around 8 kind of high level strategic goals, which we could go into deeper. But these goals are, number one, it's a safe and healthy community. We want our community to be first. We're going to focus on recovering stronger than ever. We're going to maintain beautiful homes and neighborhoods. Let's go to the next page. We have a focus on climate resilience and environmental justice. We want to make sure we have safe and active streets, resilient and reliable infrastructure, and financial strength and stability. So those are the 8 goals. We then go into each specific goals within each one of these. So the safe and healthy community, this is all about our COVID-19 pandemic response. And there are specific targets here. So we want 75% of our population to be vaccinated by December 31st of 2021. So every meeting we're talking about these the COVID response. So that's the high level. So we're going to keep coordinating to make sure that we have information out there on COVID. As soon as we are able to address the COVID pandemic response, then that, of course, over the next 5 years, hopefully this will not be a 5-year issue, right? So safe and healthy community. Again, that's goal number 1. Then we go next page. Then it's community first, right? Everything we do, it's about the community first. That means that we have really high quality of life for San Fernando taxpayers, our residents, our community, through our top-notch police department, the delivery of our services, and the excellent public service. That's what this is about, right? So we're going to look at resources for our police department, our recreational and sports programs, our senior programs, our Healthy San Fernando initiative, and then also looking at how we make it easy, right? We've heard from the council, right, a lot about the technology and making it easy for people to interact with our council, with the city through Wi-Fi, new enhanced technological improvements. So community first. Then we go to the next one. The next goal revolves around recovering stronger than ever. So we obviously have gone through a lot because of COVID. So we want to really promote our economic development opportunities. We want to make sure that we're integrating what's special about San Fernando, our history, our art, our culture, into all of our economic development plans. We want to make sure that we provide the technical and financial assistance programs for small business retention, potentially look at establishing a business one-stop center. This has been something especially that the The pandemic response ad hoc has been looking at ways to help the small business community, looking at the historic downtown. There's been discussions about the downtown master plan, architectural design, looking at investment on the Maclay corridor or other placemaking efforts to create these special areas where businesses can do well in the city of San Fernando. In the industrial corridors, looking at attracting well-paying jobs into all of our industrial corridors. And we're going to look at just our civic center, right? These are the things that we've heard. What can we do in the civic center by investing in our police department, in City Hall, the public works facilities. And ultimately, to do all of this, we know that as a council, which is some things that we've discussed, we need to build up our economic development team and then also our planning and architecture positions. And we are going to start by the hiring of a community development director. Okay, so that's the Recovering Stronger Than Ever. Then we go to the next one. Beautiful homes and neighborhoods. Want to make sure that all of our homes, whatever part of town we live in, that we are promoting homeownership, first-time home buyer programs, helping people with technical assistance to fix their homes, preserve their homes, restore their homes, make the additions to accessory dwelling units. We want to make sure that we are developing a homeless plan to be able to help people that are right now unsheltered or underhoused. And then we all of this goes into maintaining beautiful, safe homes and neighborhoods. That's a priority. Then we go to the next priority, right? So again, these are organized by categories. The next category that we get into is the climate resilience and environmental justice. And lots of discussion around this one from the council throughout the years. Increasing tree canopy coverage, investing in our natural resources through energy efficiency. We are looking at our water supply. How do we maintain the city's local water quality and local water supply? Looking at the San Fernando Park Infiltration Project to capture runoff and infiltrate water back into our groundwater table. So looking at rehabilitating incredible resources like 8th Street Natural Park. We have talked about green streets, improvements that we're making from Glen Oaks to potentially South Maclay to different parking lots. There's been discussions, I know, from Rec and Parks about Pacoima Wash Greenway and making that something that we could in the next 5 years plan and design. And of course, looking at the nitrate treatment for our wells. And all around, it's preparing the city of San Fernando around climate resilience and then addressing issues of environmental justice, right? Then we go to the next goal. So as you keep hearing, these are all things that council members that you have been bringing up, that directors across all of our directors have brought up. Then our safe and active streets. We want safe, active, healthy streets. So here you'll see the East Valley Regional Light Rail, Metrolink projects, first mile, last mile opportunities, the city safe and active streets plan, which we're working on now. There's going to be other planning efforts, continuing to provide affordable local transportation. Is it possible to offer the Mission City Transit service without charging a fee to our residents? We want to beautify and update the bus stops by making them more user-friendly, more attractive, clean, architecturally consistent, and continue to support the transportation improvements to our transportation system. So electrification, so the charging stations, for example, alternative fuels, and then the trails network. So as we're looking at safe and active streets, how do we connect all of our trails? Mission City Bike Trail, we want to make sure that again, it's safe, it's active, it's clean, and then possibly connecting that to the Pacoima Wash Greenway and connecting it to other major corridors through our safe and active streets planning. So this is all about making sure people can ride their bikes, walk, be on our streets, and make sure that they're safe and active streets. So that's another category that the council has talked about. The resilient and reliable infrastructure. Most of these are in public works, but they also, some of them fall under rec and parks. So looking at capital expenditures into our infrastructure, so that deferred maintenance, for example, in city streets, making sure we have a plan so that we know when we're going to be improving, fixing our broken streets and sidewalks, ensuring our water and our sewer system, again, are safe and they're reliable, leveraging different funds from the federal government, state, county funds to maximize the paving that we're doing every year, and potentially have a goal collectively as a city to say every year we're going to spend no less than, let's say, $1.5 million per year to fix our street. We want to develop, I think as a council, we've heard Public Works talk about this, and different council members, I've heard many of you say a sidewalk replacement program to increase walkability throughout the city. Okay, so that's resilient and reliable infrastructure. Then we go to the next goal. And this is financial strength and stability, which we've heard every single council person and director talk about our financial strength and stability, how this is a priority, that managing and growing the city's finances and reserve balances in these different critical funds, looking at our financial policies so that we're reviewing them on a biannual basis, looking at our investment policy, looking at long-term strategies for our pension and other post-employment benefits, and then potentially also investing in a grant manager or some kind of grant management service so that we're securing these dollars that we expect and are now seeing from the federal government and the state government. Lots of dollars being put into cities. Fortunately, we got to be ready. And so having a grant management service or grant manager to do this is going to help us have a better future and be able to attract additional resources to the city. So this is like obviously the kind of the key overarching goal. But when you look at it again, it's 4 areas. Everything that we've outlined are things that we've heard from the council. And we just put it into, I think, a plan that allows all of us, again, we felt in the committee, it allows all of us from the council to, again, the city manager, department directors, city commissions, to all work together for the next, 1 to like 5 years on these priorities. So I don't think any of this should be new to anyone, because all of this we've heard from different individuals. And I think that this makes it more consistent, or makes it easier for us to follow. So when we're looking at our budget, we all agreed in the ad hoc. This now gives us a document. And so if there's new things that come up, we could always go back and see how does it relate to what's in the existing plan, or maybe it's something that we can't do at this time, but we would do at some future time, so that we stay focused on trying to accomplish these sets of goals and objectives. So that's it. I mean, is there any questions? Lots of good thinking. Thank you to all of you, because really, I think what we did, we just took what we heard and we put it down on paper. So the council has lots of good ideas. The directors have lots of wonderful ideas, and commissioners. So happy to answer any questions, but I think all of this should be very familiar to all of you.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Thank you. I think, these are all very important goals. There's not much to, disagree with. I feel that, as you said, it reflects a lot of our comments over the years. It also seems to have a lot of things that we're already working on, which is great, and we'll start having deliverables pretty soon, it seems like. And obviously, I'm very supportive of a lot of the issues in here, like increasing our tree canopy and working on our water infrastructure, making our bus stops consistent and things like that. I think it's important that it's a living document as well, because things do come up, right? Like global pandemics come out of nowhere, and I think as long as council stays nimble, and flexible, I think that's very important. I do want to kind of highlight some, I guess, a high level thing that comes to my mind, maybe as perhaps it's a separate issue, or perhaps it's not within the scope of something like this, but our RENA numbers, our general plan update, and the future of housing in San Fernando is so important. And I know we have this section here on, making sure our neighborhoods look great, having like a homeless program so that we kind of begin to go after these issues. But I think, trying to find space for all these new housing units that we're required to build over the next 10 years does require a lot of that high level, discussion. And I'm sure it'll fit here, in one way or the other, it'll be shoehorned in. And secondly, I think I would, comment on maybe drilling down a little bit on what the council priorities will be when push comes to shove on some of these issues that could be internally consistent, like, increasing our reserves to the general fund or to the self-insurance fund, but also increasing our expenditures on deferred maintenance. Well, sometimes you can either do one or the other. You can't really do both. What things are we going to spend on? Which things are a priority to spend on? Which things, are lower on that scale, I think is really important because, I think we've all tried to have expenditures over the last few years of things that we care about, and things that are important to us. And sometimes, there's just no money for it, right? And especially with deferred maintenance, I think when we last looked at it, one of our directors, Yaz, put a report together that said we have something like 50 million plus in costs of deferred maintenance on our streets. And that spending 2 million, I think, a year doesn't even help us tread water. Like we're still, adding to the bill at the end of the day in deferred maintenance. So I think there'll be some tough decisions on the purse strings. Personally, I believe that, there should be more expenditures into infrastructure and into, street maintenance and water infrastructure and personnel like police department and public works. And there shouldn't necessarily be such a high priority on having, a $4 million rainy day fund. But that's one council member, right? And we have so many more, and we have our finance directors and we have our staff and everyone else involved. And so I don't know how we get to that, point of really trying to press on what, our priorities should be when push comes to shove on these expenditures that on the one hand are almost emergency level needed. And on the other hand, well, we also want to, balance our budget or add 500K into, a rainy day fund. It's going to be tough to do. But, just like democracy, it's going to come down to us discussing and making those decisions when it comes time, I guess, budget time and so forth. But, besides those kind of like high level comments, I think it is nice to kind of have a guiding, North Star, especially community facing, showing folks, what we're, prioritizing, what are the things that are important to us because we believe that, they're important to the community. So again, thank you for this work, and hopefully I can speak to you all, individually as well about our ideas and all that good stuff. And, I'm excited to try to get a lot of these initiatives passed. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for all your hard work on this, Vice Mayor and Councilmember Montañez. It is wonderful and very clearly captures a lot of the work that we've been trying to advance, and especially projects that have been personally important to a lot of us. I know for myself, I was very happy to see a lot of like the housing displacement issues and, financial and housing stability are near and dear to my heart. And so I think you all did a wonderful job. With that said, I do have a couple of concerns, and I'm not sure if our process right now, because I think in our staff report, we're just providing guidance. And so I'm not sure if we're considering like a formal adoption, but I found that after going through this very robust, beautiful document, I didn't have clear direction on what our year one goals are. versus our year 5 goals. Or, there's a couple that outline specific targets like our vaccination goal, or even, our amount of trees. And so I feel like those specific targets really allow it to be like a set goal that we can measure progress towards. And to me, kind of like what Councilmember Pacheco said, it helps outline what are, with competing priorities, how are we pursuing and accomplishing each of these goals. And so I think with that said, I see it kind of as a framework right now. And I think it asserts a lot of our values and current initiatives. I think for me, it would be helpful, and I imagine for you all, it would be helpful as well to kind of see how we are going to measure goals. And then, who's the department lead? I know in some of our iterations we almost heard priorities like twice already. I think it was really clear to me what staff's priorities were and what they needed to accomplish their goals within the next year, almost as if it was a work plan. And now it's kind of just missing that for me. I don't know what, Julian, I'm just going to use you as an example, what Julian specifically set out to do this year from this document. And I think that that's helpful to me as a council member when we think about prioritizing resources, right? If Julian wants to do the mission league and he needs $25,000 to get started, like it's not, for me, it could be articulated better, like what our goal is, how we're reaching it, and then kind of what that will be at the end of the day. And so I don't know if you have any comments on that, Nick. You look like you do.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of that's a good comment, excellent comment, because I think sort of the work programs will be developed as, that's what the budget process is for, right? Is actually setting those year 1 goals. So these are, this is that framework, I guess, to use Councilmember Pacheco's words, this is the North Star, right? So now for staff, what this helps is we now take, and I'm starting, tomorrow's actually my first budget meeting internally with staff and department heads. So we take this document and say, okay, what is from our standpoint, knowing what staff I have working right now, what can we look at putting into our work program this year or proposing to, and then, then what we can do the following year and kind of like, so how can we start ticking things off over the next 5 years? Then that will get presented to council in May in our budget study session. So, Matt, for example, will present Public Works' work program, and all of his work program items for next year will tie to one of these strategic goals. So you can start seeing that progress. So I think the idea of this, it's kind of like an upside down pyramid, right? This is the broad based, base of that pyramid. That's sort of floating like Avatar, like in the misty mountains. And then as we go through the budget process, it sort of will funnel down into, okay, this is what this year's budget looks like. This is what's funded. This is the work program for each department. So I think that's from a staff standpoint, how we saw this document and how we see it, the value of it. But obviously, council member, the ad hoc, can obviously add more.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right, because we had a little bit of that discussion, was how specific were we going to get in this document, because this is that bigger document. And so every year, as we do next year's budget, there's going to be budget priorities there in 2022, 23, 24, 25. So for 5 years out, and then it's flexible. So we want to add with each specific goal that's there, then there'll be a very detailed work plan. So let's just take safe and active streets, right? There's very detailed targets, right? Our parking master plan, like there's very specific dates. So we didn't want to add all those to this document because it is, as Nick's saying, it's that larger document. But as we begin to go into the detail, when the council decides priorities, then we'll have very specific deliverables, timelines, and then like the outcomes to guide the work, right? So that'll be like the next kind of steps after our budget priorities are done. Yeah.
Is there a plan for any community input? I think even taking like the value community first, like how are we engaging the community to help set these priorities before we outline a budget based on them?
I mean, I would say, Nick, you could answer the question on just how we're going to go through the budget process and where there's community input. But yeah, so I think that once we have this, if the council, when we vote on this, like this should be something that me personally, this is what we present to the community. This is what we're working on, right? But there is a public process for the budget. And that's when community members could definitely provide the input on projects that they want funded or priorities that they like. So there is a formal process for approval of the budget where community can provide input.
Sure, and I appreciate it. And there are definitely different ways to accomplish, sort of use this document to accomplish assisting both staff and council with budget priorities. I've worked in the community before where you put out, so you sort of have on your website a tool where people come and they click on that tool on things that they think are the most important, or they rank. They'll have these eight categories, and you rank them 1 to 8, right? So there are definitely different transparency or community engagement tools that you can use, and I think this kind of helps. This document helps build a framework for that kind of tool. I do want to, from a timing standpoint, I think for this upcoming 21-22 fiscal year, it would be really hard to get any sort of meaningful feedback. Realistically, we have about 30 days until the budget comes back to us, and so we'd have to focus on developing that tool because we don't really have it at the moment. So really from from a work program standpoint, and again, there are software packages out there that do that. There's a number of especially financial and budgeting transparency tools. So that's something that you start with a good base. You start here with the strategic plan, and then you kind of roll out. Most likely for the second year of the plan is how do we enhance community engagement to tell us what their top priorities are in the budget process. There definitely are plenty of other examples of cities that do that, that have that kind of budgeting tool, that community engagement tool. So, I would just ask that we use this as kind of the jumping off point, and then we kind of start building that over the next year or so that we have we continue to have that engagement process of for the budget over the next few years.
I wonder if you all would be open then to maybe present it more as a framework and the objectives of council, because I think that's what it captures, until we're ready to set clear and measurable goals and timelines with the input of community. And then with that, I think that some of them are stated as kind of we will do this, versus we'll try to do something. And I just think that there should be maybe more balance in there, to clarify these are all objectives, and not prioritizing them yet, right, without having gone through any other process.
Yeah, so I guess I'd love to hear the other council members' feedback. I think objectives and goals are, can sometimes be interchangeable. Maybe a goal seems a little more concrete than an objective, but I don't think from a staff standpoint, we're not stuck on any words or
I hear you. I think I just am on the same boat of Councilman Pacheco, right? And hoping that this can be a more fluid document, especially
right.
To your point, we can't really get a lot of feedback in time for this next budget process, although I think we should very much try. But until we do incorporate that, to leave it a little more fluid and for more feedback throughout this next year.
Yeah, and it's just the idea. Similar. We had kind of started this effort earlier this year in January. I think the idea, and this was from the ad hoc as well, is every year, at least in January, and maybe it would be prudent to do it more often throughout this first year, is to review and update. The fluidity of this document, flexibility. I think Councilmember Montanez, had said that when she was going through it. The idea is every year in January, and so that's, I think, coming from a timing perspective. The idea is we typically would go over this in January, and that's when we would start to get a little bit more feedback. Obviously because of the election and COVID and just other things, and we didn't even have this document, quite frankly, in January. So I think for starting that process in January really helps, and quite frankly, we would have it in time for the Measure A or the measure A, for next year. There's just a lot of things that I think timing will line up, but we can certainly schedule it to come back, for review in September. If that's, the ad hoc, I'm sure would love to get back together and we can talk about it again then, and start reflecting on it and then start setting us up for next fiscal year. I think that's a good comment. Yeah. I'm not sure if that encompasses your comment or your feedback. I think that's kind of, from a staff standpoint, I do see continuing to build on this, each year and refining and rearranging and, rewording as it's needed.
Okay, so I'll give my comments. I do like the idea that right from the get-go, Council Member Martinez said it is a living document, and we have to keep that in mind, and that's really, really important. And we also have, as Nick said, we have a timing issue and we have a staffing issue. COVID has taken up so much of our manager's time, and as it should have. That was our number one priority and is our number one priority, COVID, and how we function as a city. I would like to see a dog park. Been waiting on that for a while. And in my mind, one of the priorities would be to upgrade our facilities, our public works department, our police department. They really need their workspace upgraded. People want to come in and they want to feel good about themselves. They don't want to see holes up on the ceiling, desks that are falling apart, paint job that's peeling. If we give people a very that show that we value them by updating their workspace, I think we would get a lot more from them. So that just happens to be one of Sylvia's priorities, and I'm sure the rest of the council feels the same way. Do we need the streets done? Absolutely. But wouldn't it be nice to come into an office and your office space and you really want to be there instead of, oh my God, I got to smell that again and the rug and what have you. So we need to have a list of high priority areas that need to be cleaned up and refurbished. So I'm just letting you all know that's where I'm at on that. But I love your plan. It's a great plan. It's a living document. Looking forward to Nick's presentation when it comes to the budget and the priorities, which will be when, Nick?
Diego, what is our scheduled study sessions?
Our study sessions begin in May. Our proposed budget comes back to council on May 3rd, and we start putting together our document these next few weeks. So I have been listening. I have been taking notes to what council is saying. I do think that, yes, these priorities will kind of take a theme in every department kind of as we start putting their budgets together. So, but I think, yeah, I think we should discuss it more, Nick, in terms of how we want to present it to council. But we will come back on May 3rd with a proposed document for review, discussion, and then immediately after that, we'll start our budget sessions with council involved.
And I think, back to what Councilmember Rodriguez had kind of mentioned in the need for flexibility. I mean, there are things that will get thrown out at us in the middle of the year, and I'll give you an example. The Biden administration has been talking about a $2.5 trillion infrastructure program, where all of a sudden in October we could get 10 million. I'm just throwing out a number, but like we get $10 million to do streets, right? Then all of a sudden, I think, yeah, I mean, then we would have to pivot a lot of our efforts away from what the priorities were to spending that money because there's a deadline of 20, whatever it may be. So I agree, it completely needs to be, a living document, but at least that helps us, in the framework say, okay, let's go after these funds because they are part of the strategic goals and they are part of some of what council wants to look at. And some of the efforts that you'll probably see that staff put forward as a work plan are actually things that we probably started a year and a half ago, right before COVID started, and we're actually about to be in the budget before, and then they just got put on hold. And they'll fit in, we'll fit them into this. But we're going to try to balance a lot of those efforts that we kind of already stopped but had to put on pause with, new efforts, and then just kind of pivoting whenever new money gets thrown at us, or even that $4.5 million and that we'll be getting, and the programs that come out of that and how they fit into, some of these strategic goals. So I think that there'll be a lot of discussions. This will be a key document in a lot of those discussions, I think.
And Nick, something else too, I think at mid-year, we could come back with next year with just an update on these goals and also working those into the new budget at that, as opposed to just, making adjustments into the overall budget, getting more council input at mid-year on strategy on goals for the next upcoming years. We plan this out for the next 5 years. So just an idea.
Yes, Vice Mayor?
I just want to add, and thank everyone for their comments. The ad hoc committee, I think we worked really well together, and everyone had their input. And I think that what I felt while in the meeting, because we met with Nick, Tim, Matt, and Diego, and what I felt was, I felt a feeling of relief. I go, wow, now they have something that will guide them in making their decisions. And, that's why, I really support the document, because they have, like Councilmember Pacheco said, there's that guiding light. This is what this is. It's a guiding light for us as a city to work towards and to complete these, for our budget development, which is going to be more in depth, and for this city to complete its goals. So I support the document. The other thing that we discussed is that we were creating strategic goals, but we were looking at a mission statement. So one of the things that we were going to ask council is if you wanted us to go back and develop a mission statement, because it appeared it had been about 10 years since we've looked, I don't know, was it 10 years? Or who knows how long?
We honestly couldn't even find a mission statement.
I think Councilmember Montanez has it memorized.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually probably been 104 years since we've looked at our mission statement last.
So that was something that we should have before doing strategic goals, but we needed to provide something for staff. But the feeling of relief from staff of having something to work from was really, it made me feel good with what we were presenting to you today.
That's a really great document. I'm surprised you got it done in such a short period of time, actually. I think it will take longer to come up with a mission statement.
And I wanted to add also, Councilmember Montañez designed this, and what a beautiful job she did. It was,
She did. I like that photo of Michelle Obama at the end there. Little mariachi.
Very nice.
What was that?
That was when our Master Mariachi Apprentice program was actually invited by Michelle Obama to the White House. So that is an actual San Fernando presence in the White House.
The Obama White House seems like such a dream.
And Madam Mayor, I have to say you're right. I can't believe we forgot the doggy park.
Okay. That's okay. It's a living document.
You haven't said that before. I don't know. We weren't thinking. I think we had.
Well, you did so much.
Too much about infrastructure, and we forgot about our cute little creatures, our puppies.
Yes.
So you're right. You're going to get that one in there.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is really great work on behalf of the ad hoc committee. Thank you very much. And what's next, Nick?
Just a simple motion to approve the strategic goals. I think that would be a good, so I don't think there's necessarily a need to do it, but I think it'd be good, symbolic, motion, and then we can come back and review it. I see Councilmember Rodriguez has.
Oh, yes, Councilmember Rodriguez.
Yeah. Well, what's the best way for us to already contribute additions?
Well, if you have an addition, like that's like specific, just, I mean, right now, blurt it out. I think it would be just to add that.
Should we table it for one more meeting and then,
sure,
have council members work with staff on their additions and such, and then
yeah, there's not
next
a,
time, I don't know, just an idea.
Yes. So there's not a time deadline. So, if we do want to table it and come back next meeting, sure, certainly we can do that.
I would be very inclusive. Yeah.
Can we have a vote for that as well, city manager? Table the
Yeah, I can make the motion if and see if anyone wants to second me, but I can move to.
I just want to
you know-
say, I'm not
Go ahead.
understanding why we can't make the motion to approve moving forward with, this living document. And we can put it on the agenda to bring it back so we can have some additional discussion about the living document. I'm not understanding that, so maybe someone can explain to me.
I think the idea is to give an opportunity to the rest of us that are outside of the ad hoc to provide direct recommendations for the document before approving. So
Yeah,
for
and I think
example, right, I think that like students have a role. We discuss students a lot and their needs today, but we don't talk about education or students. And I think that's a priority we could all agree upon already, or even we're hiring a lot of key positions and we're really interested in workforce pipelines, and diversity is important for that. And so I just think there's some pieces that, we can contribute to this before we approve it. And Pacheco, I don't know if you have something to add.
I think he froze. I'm just thinking it's a
Say
living
again?
document, and we can come back with it. But go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I think from staff's perspective, I mean, I'd rather get it right? If 2 weeks, gives, makes it a better document, then I think I would support just, having, we could table it for 2 weeks, get some additional feedback and add that in. I think that's, but let's make the initial document as good as possible. And then, we can.
I understand what you're saying, but then in a way, it doesn't make sense to me because it's a living document. So even if whatever, we could table it and in 2 weeks we'll vote for it, and the next council meeting we'll have changes to it because it's a living document. But I'm flexible. It's late. I'm very flexible. So.
But perhaps as an alternative, we don't approve it as a formal document. We just keep contributing to it.
Yeah, that could be.
We do need a formal document because, I mean, I know when I first started the council, I was like, what are the strategic goals? And there was no document provided, right?
Yeah.
Because we weren't, what we did, we just basically took what the council had already been doing and new ideas that have kind of emerged, and we put it all together. And so I think it's important to have strategic goals and objectives, as the vice mayor said. It also helps the directors a lot. So, and what we tried to do was just add in goals and objectives where the city has control. So we didn't add anything in on the education piece because we don't have, we discussed a little bit of LUSD, but we didn't add the schools in there. So I think, I mean, it is a living document. It could be amended and changed and all of that throughout the process. I would say, because we do need to get the budget discussions going, it's important to move a document forward with these priorities and then add in things, right? As necessary. But I mean, I think, whatever the council feels comfortable with, but I do think that it's important to have a formally approved document, because again, this is what we want the city council, the department directors. I mean, we want the city manager to go back to the department directors and all the city employees and be able to present, this is where we're going as a city, right? And if we don't have a document, then there's not anything that the city manager could really say, this is our.
Yeah, I think the challenge is that balance between a formal document getting approved and then its fluidity that the mayor was pointing out. So I didn't understand how we were striking the balance.
Yeah,
but I second Councilmember Pacheco's motion.
Yeah, Vice Mayor would like to say something.
Councilmember Rodriguez, are you okay with the document so far? Or is it just adding another component, such as you're saying, education or other areas you want it added? Because
I think there's
those additional items that you want us to address, and then maybe as an ad hoc, we can go back and just add them, approve what's there if you're okay with what's there, and then we can get direction to go for us to address the areas that you'd like to have included.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. And I recognize how robust and amazing this document is. I just think that I do have a few other comments, right? Even when it comes to like community first, like I think should be first. And I think we should be more we should articulate the fact, like, how are we engaging the community with each of these pieces? I think it was very evident when, at the beginning of our term, Councilmember Montañez and the Tesla project, there's a really big gap with the way we communicate with the public on projects. And I just think that could be a clearly stated goal. So kind of with what Councilmember Pacheco said about tabling it, I think we can email some notes to staff so it can be considered by the ad hoc, and even, like Nick said, something more final to get approved rather than coming back by next meeting and redoing it. So would everyone be comfortable if I seconded Councilmember Pacheco's motion and we voted on that? Or is there a different motion on the table?
If you're comfortable with seconding it, that's all that matters. But yeah, it can get voted on or not. But I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I'm open to accommodating, these comments. I'm open to just moving forward. I just threw it out there as a way to, incorporate these things into the final document. But
but it's not the final document. That's the tricky part. Okay, so roll call, please. Mute.
Yes. Councilmember Rodriguez.
Yes.
Oops, sorry, just so we're clear, this is on, this is the motion to table the final vote on this until April 19th. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes.
Councilmember Montanez.
I mean, I really don't care on this one. If we need more time, that's fine. So the motion is to what, to table it? Okay,
Motion
and
is to table
Hector and
discussion.
Celeste, you guys want more time? Is that what you guys, Hector, you want more time?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we were just discussing. Yeah.
Okay, so everybody wants more time. Yeah, because I mean, that's fine. You guys could have 2 more weeks. I'm fine.
So that's a yes.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes. Sorry. I'm just having a conversation.
Vice Mayor Mendoza
Yes.
and Mayor Ballin.
Yes. Motion passes.
Okay, so in between, you guys will send over to the ad hoc your recommendations, and then we'll just look at them. Okay.
Well, wait a minute. If we're going to come back in 2 weeks, then you need to send your recommendations over within.
Yeah, that's right. This week.
What do you think, Nick?
Next week,
Yeah.
right?
You're on mute, Nick. Getting late.
Sorry, we'll get a meeting scheduled with the ad hoc, this week or early next week. So yeah, send those over to us as soon as possible. We can turn around pretty quick on staff's standpoint. So.
Yeah.
We're still in the vote.
No, the motion passed, Richard.
Bill said if people need more time, they could have more time, right?
Yeah, they'll come back on April the 19th.
Thanks for joining the meeting, Richard.
Oh, he's been here all along.
Welcome.
It just became very confusing, but Richard's been on it all along. Yeah. Anyway, Richard, I appreciate you. At this point, staff communication.
Sorry, Diego, anything from finance?
Budget. That's it.
Matt, Public Works.
Yes, I just wanted to give a quick update on the Glen Oaks tree work that I spoke at the last council meeting about. We were able to install last week on the 31st and April 1st, we were able to install 72 new trees on Glen Oaks between Harding Avenue and Hubbard. We worked hard with the Green City Ad Hoc Commission with council members Montañez and Pacheco, and we were able to identify locations and types of trees to use. So we did complete that work next week, and we will be looking at a second phase along Glen Oaks next planting season, which will probably be after the summer is over. But probably prior to that, we'll be looking at identifying further locations as you go east of Harding Avenue towards Arroyo. So just wanted to mention that and thank the Green City Ad Hoc Committee for that work.
Thank you, Matt. Julian, anything from Recreation?
Yes, a couple of things. We have the Park Wellness and Recreation Commission meeting on April 13th. And another update on the Family Wellness Challenge. This is a month-long activity. It's a hybrid activity that we do have live workshops and online workshops. This Saturday, we're going to offer total body conditioning at 9 a.m. And then at 10:30 a.m., we're going to have line dancing. These activities will be held at Las Palmas with enough social distancing for everybody. And as this is for the whole family, all ages could participate. Excuse me. And it's free, so people come out and participate in the program. So I hope to see people there.
Line dancing sounds fun. When did you say that is?
10:30 a.m.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you, Julian, and Chief Iro.
Yes, I just have a request if we can close in memory tonight of Sandra Gary that passed away in a mall over the weekend, our homeless lady. She was 69 years old and passed away by herself alone in early morning hours. And hopefully we'll be able to reach out and locate some family members. And we're working closely with the coroner's office to hopefully locate some family members so she can get some peace. And that's my request. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And I have nothing. I've already talked plenty today, so I'm going to call it a night.
City Clerk has something.
Oh, yes. City Clerk, I'm sorry. The most important, yeah.
Yes, Madam Mayor and City Council members, I am pleased to announce that at the Tuesday night's Education Commission meeting, March 30th, the Commission approved a new scholarship program called Jerry's Kids Scholarship. This is an annual program being funded by former Deputy City Manager Timothy Howe in honor of his late mother, Geraldine Howe. She was a librarian and inspired many children to continue their education. This scholarship will support local students who choose to attend college outside of Southern California. The commission also selected 2 students of the month who will be presented at the next council meeting. Potentially, they're still planning on that. Also, the commission awarded 13 scholarships ranging from $250 to $1,000. And now we'll focus on how we're going to honor the recipients. Drive by, we need something to honor them. We created an ad hoc to develop an event and see where that goes. Hopefully things will lighten up and maybe we'll be able to see them in person. We'll also announce all of the winners on our website, social media. Of course, I'm going to recontact Kelly Gomez, and she can, spread the news through the education outlet. And lastly, and more importantly, the most important, I think, is the City Clerk's Department has chosen a candidate for the Deputy City Clerk position, and currently they're going through the background check. So wishful thinking, perhaps May 10th, May 11th, but that's only my wishful thinking. So that concludes the City Clerk's update, and I am here for any questions.
Thank you very much. So we will go with Councilmember Rodriguez.
Thank you. First, thank you, Chief. I also wanted to close in her memory, so I'm really grateful that you did that. Congratulations to Julia for having a candidate to help out over there. A shout out to Tim for creating this scholarship. And then, of course, just a thank you to staff, council, and the commission for all the work that's getting done.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Thank you, Mayor. No real comments today. I appreciate all the hard work and looking forward to our next meeting.
Councilmember Martinez.
So we had a safe and active streets ad hoc. Councilmember Rodriguez and I sit on that. And we met with our consultant and with Matt So we're beginning to hone in on areas that they could focus in for safe and active street priorities to design. So once we have that, we expect to probably in the next couple council meetings to be able to come back to the council with some of those recommendations. But the Community Advisory Committee has provided inputs. There's going to be a process for additional inputs, walk-arounds, bike arounds the city, so that we can really hone in on the priorities for safe and active streets. But a lot of really good discussions, and something I think that the council will also be really proud of, like the work that's going to be done with our safe and active streets planning. So just wanted to report back on that, and then also just say thank you to everybody for the discussion on the strategic goals and priorities. I think this is really good. It's exciting. When we started putting all this down, it's really wonderful to see the work that the city is doing, has been doing, will be doing, can do. It's going to be a really fun, I don't know, 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, however long we stick to this plan. I think it's going to be really fun as a team, all of us really, to work on getting those strategic goals and objectives done. So thank you to everybody, because this really came from the thinking that all of you have done. As I said many times, it wasn't a lot of new thinking. I think a lot of what you saw was because of the creative thinking and the deep commitment that all of you have to the city. So look forward to getting additional input and then working on the budget process to actually make a lot of this stuff a reality.
Very good. Vice Mayor?
Yes. I'd like to thank everyone who submitted a public comment today. Then for, watching in on our meetings. And also wanted to thank Pueblo y Salud for inviting me to the Cesar y Chavez commemorative presentation of the plaque. Councilmember Rodriguez and I were both there. We missed, I know they were expecting Councilmember Montañez, but her mother spoke in
Yes, a better speaker showed up. My mom showed up.
Did a great job. She did
much better.
Yeah, and the plaque is a very nice, a very big plaque made of stone, and that should last many, many years. It was a very nice event, and had met some people that I had meetings with, and new people, and just I wanted to thank them for inviting the city for the presentation and for the plaque. That's all.
Well, I'd like to thank Tim for that scholarship contribution in memory of his mother. And it makes me feel very humbled, because many, many years ago, the story of Gabriel Fernandez just touched my heart. And I raised all of $2,000 to start a scholarship program. And throughout the years, I was able to raise about $45,000. And now other people are, I know Councilmember Pacheco has contributed, and we've gotten contributions from other groups, the California Latino Water Coalition Foundation, which I'm the chair. And it just really means a lot to me that I think we're the only city that offers scholarships to our students. And it's just humbles me. I'm going to have to send them a note and just thank him. It means a lot to me. Just receiving that one little scholarship can change the course of a person's life in a disadvantaged community. I know, because I experienced it. The other is I really want to take the time to thank two very important people in my life. And that is Nick Kimball and Richard Padilla. You guys worked so hard, and I'm always calling you up and asking for guidance. And, the pre-meetings are very important to me. And sometimes I don't like what you say to me, but I know that you're guiding me so that I don't get myself in trouble. You're one of the best, Richard, and I really appreciate you. And so are you, Nick. And I kind of wish you wouldn't respond to me after hours, but I'm always thrilled that you do. So thank you so much. And thank you to this City Council. I think we're accomplishing some really great things, and I'm just excited about it. Again, thank you to the ad hocs. All the ad hocs are doing great work. And with that, and thank you, Chief, to close in memory of this homeless woman. It just breaks all of our hearts. And she is someone, she's important, and she's important to our community. And I'm so grateful that you are closing in her memory. Sandra Segeri, that's it, correct? Yes. So with that, I adjourn in memory of Sandra Segeri. I'll see you all the next time. Goodbye.